You ready? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the July 6, 2023 meeting of the Southampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and also via video conferencing in accordance with the Town Board's enactment of Local Law Number 14 of 2022, adopted on May 24, 2022. Our next meeting and those following will be held in person here at Town Hall and will also continue to allow for remote participation. So we ask you to continually check the town's website for updates and any new information. If you wish to view tonight's live meeting only, please do not join the Zoom meeting and instead go to the town's website. With that, I'd ask that you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you who are here with us in person tonight, in case of an emergency evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of this room to one of the staircases across the hall and continue downstairs and out through the main entrance. Please do not attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are both located in the hallway on this floor opposite the elevator. Restrooms are located across the hall. We will be starting this meeting with the public hearings. We have applicants and members of the public here with us live and also standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. CTV will mute the speakers on Zoom until it is their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find that you are having difficulties accessing the hearings, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Please silence your cell phones and refrain from speaking to one another in the boardroom as it interferes with our recording equipment. Tonight we have board member Helen Burgess, who will be participating remotely via Zoom. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking, other than attorneys, will be sworn in, will state their address for the record, and will offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. Before handing in any submissions to the board tonight, please make sure that the documents identify the ZBA application name and tax map number. The application name should also be written on your certified receipts. Unless otherwise stated at the end of each hearing, all of these applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until a date to be announced after the hearing. Those comments can be addressed to the members of the board and sent via email, mail, and/or dropped off at Town Hall to the board secretary, Candace Cowell. With that, I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting, which was our June 15th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Ms. Burgess.
She's not on.
Oh, she's not on, okay. Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. And next, I want to ask for a motion to approve. Yes. Oh, okay. Mike, do you want to vote on the motion to, aye, approve the minutes, okay. All right, that's of June 15th. And now I want to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our prior meeting on June 1st.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Minutes of both prior meetings are approved. And next, we'll go on to adjournments.
Okay, item 3 on the agenda, which is Elizabeth Blodgett and David Blodgett. We're gonna re-advertise that for our August 3rd meeting.
Okay, re-add, so no vote.
Item 13 on the agenda, Michael Gluckman and Willa Gluckman. I'll move to adjourn that to our, 8/17 meeting.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Item 14 on the agenda, 625 Butter Lane Homestead LLC. I'll move to adjourn that to our September 21st meeting.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio. Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Item 15 and 16, which is SGM Excavating LLC. I'll move to adjourn both of those, 15 and 16, to our September 21 meeting.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Is that Helen? Ms. Burgess?
Hello.
Aye.
Aye.
Do you vote, do you vote aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
On the decision calendar, the following
Need to clean the
decisions
fan.
will be put off to our July 20th meeting. Alexander Vyman, 204 Butter WBLLC. Flip a page, huh? Matthew Frank, Production Holdings LLC, Lee Skolnick, and Max New York Management.
Do we have second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, then we're gonna go back to the first one on the decision calendar, which is Susan E. Aminoff. I'll move to reopen.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, reopen.
I reopen to accept written submissions. Now I'll move to close it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
With a determination tonight, too,
Tonight,
so you know. Bridgehampton Fields LLC, I'll move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill. I'm sorry. Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I was going to give you two votes, Keith.
Okay, and now I'll move to close it, for a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, 1127 Noyak Path LLC, I'll move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, reopen.
Now I'll move to close with a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Jason D. Simmons, I'll move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, reopen.
Now I'll move to close it with a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, Gerard and Ellen Perino, I'll move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, reopen.
Now I'll move to close with a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Robert and Gretchen Savage, I'll move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, reopen.
Now I'll move to close with a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Dennis P. Schmidt, I'll move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, reopen.
And now I'll move to close it with a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Barbara Rosenthal, I'll move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, reopen.
I'll move to close with a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, back to the beginning of the agenda. Minor variance review. Item 1 is Robert Persini and Nancy Persini, 14 New Ground Lane in Watermill. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-11 Residential District State Dimensional Regulations as it relates to Town Code 330-6 General Regulations for a principal rear yard setback from the required 100 feet to 97 feet for a proposed addition to an existing dwelling and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. Pass that to John.
Okay, so this is a minor, and so we have no public hearing in connection with this application. John, do you want to make a motion?
What
You
should-
move to
Close for
approve it,
decision.
right?
yeah,
Close for
close the
decision.
decision.
Okay, so I move to close for decision
Later on tonight.
later on tonight.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio,
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, item 2 on the agenda is Hamid and Shaz Montabar. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying. 28 Far Pond Road in Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-272-1-43. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Chapter 169, Flood Damage Prevention, Section 16A1 and 2, to allow a basement in an AE Special Flood Hazard Area on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. You pass that to Adam.
Good evening. Just
Good
have to
evening.
Swear you in and state your name and address for the record, please.
Lori Wiltshire, Land Planning Services, 231 Pantigo Road in East Hampton.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do,
Thank you. If you could tell us about the application.
absolutely. So the owners of the subject property obtained wetlands permits and a building permit from the town of Southampton, as well as permits from the New York DEC and the Health Department to tear down an existing residence and build a new house between the years of 2018 and 2020. The plans that were submitted to the building department showed the mechanicals in the basement and were approved. The house was built and passed all required inspections until the final inspection for the certificate of occupancy, where it was discovered that part of the house was in a flood zone. The mechanicals were in the basement, and the basement is not permitted in a flood zone. So section 169-16A1 reads, within AE zones, new construction shall have the lowest floor, including basements, elevated to or above 2 feet above the base flood elevation required by FEMA. Although the basement is not in the flood zone, part of the house is in AE elevation 9. When this is the case, the whole house needs to meet the FEMA required elevation. That is not the case, as this house was built with a basement that houses the mechanical equipment. There is no way to explain how this happened, because both the architect and the builder passed away from COVID. And there is nowhere to move the mechanical equipment upstairs in the house, and the house cannot be expanded because of wetlands constraints. Therefore, we are seeking relief in the form of a variance to allow the basement and mechanical equipment to remain as they were built. Again, the mechanical equipment is not in the flood zone. Both the New York State DEC and the Chief Building Inspector have stated they will support a variance from the flood damage prevention requirements. We have written statements from both of them in support of the variance. In an email, we asked Brad Wensnosky, Environmental Program Specialist in Floodplain Management at the New York State DEC. So we applied to the Southampton Town ZBA for a variance and you support that? And his response was, correct. Chief Building Inspector Sean McDermott completed a required form, which is part of the New York State DOS variance application. That's the state variance from the flood zone requirements, where he checked the following boxes. Yes. Do you support the petitioner's request for a variance? Yes. And do you support processing this request as a routine variance? Yes. Mr. McDermott was quite sincere when he told me personally he felt badly for this family because it was not their fault, no fault of their own that this has landed here. So we are attaching copies of each of the permits issued for their house, and there are many. Conservation Board, New York State DEC, Health Department, there's a certificate of wetlands compliance, there's a highway determination, there's an engineering certification. No one pegged this flood zone issue at all until the very final inspection for the certificate of occupancy after this residence was built. We also include the FEMA flood map, the elevation certificate, and some correspondence that I found helpful in understanding the situation from the owner's son, Naveed Mudabar, as well as Dave Kanji and Art Gerhauser from the building department. And we have a variance application pending with the New York State Department of State at this time. And I'm available for any questions you have, and this is all the permits, the flood zone map, the elevation certificate, and some written commentary from the people I mentioned.
Do you have copies for everybody?
No, and I can do that if you'd like. If you want to hold it open, I will make them.
I'm certain they would like, yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll take that, and I will submit it.
What are you asking for, the
next Thursday.
survey?
No copies of everything that she
Oh,
just
yeah, yeah.
mentioned,
Okay.
copies of the letters from whoever
okay.
you said.
I can do that. I'll have them here next Thursday.
Okay.
Do you have the plans as well? I mean, the original plans? Because I couldn't decide from the survey where the quote basement was and where the mechanicals were.
Yes, we do.
Okay? Did anybody else get them? Because I didn't. Uh-uh.
They're in the file.
Never got them.
Okay.
Well, typically, one set is in the file, but the board should have the smaller versions of them.
Yeah.
So like 11, 17? How many copies?
One for every board member.
And 9 copies of all these exhibits.
So I just had a question, kind of more generally about the location of the mechanicals, the location of the entire basement. Is there like part of the basement that's in the flood zone and part of it that is not, or is it just the entire basement because of the statute that is, considered to be in the flood zone?
So my understanding, and this is from the engineer that was there the other day, is the house is divided by the flood zone. The basement is only under part of the house. The basement and the mechanicals are not in the flood zone, but the code requires if part of the house is in the flood zone, all of it has to meet the elevation requirements. So the engineer also determined that there are flood vents. The water will certainly get in, so the house will not collapse, but that it likely will not be able to get out, so it will have to be pumped, which means that their mechanicals will get ruined, and they'll have to get new mechanicals if there's ever a flood, but the basement is not in the flood zone. So it's highly unusual.
I understand, but that having been said, it's the applicant's, I understand the set of circumstances, that it wasn't the applicant's fault in any way that this happened, but, my concern is that the applicant will end up having, repeated problems with flooding, and I don't know that that's the case. I'm not an expert on what's in a flood zone and what that entails. But that's my only concern, is that the applicant may end up having,
They're aware of this.
Yeah,
They're aware
issues.
it's an insurance issue.
yeah,
There's nothing they can do about it at this point, other
Yeah.
than seek relief.
right. And it would just be the mechanicals in the basement, nothing else
That's
in the
it, there's
basement.
nothing else down there.
Yeah.
There's not a full basement.
Yeah.
The house is in the flood zone, so if there's gonna be damage, it's gonna be to the house, not to the mechanicals, most
Right.
likely.
Right, so they're probably gonna have an issue with flood insurance.
Possibly. They're aware of it. There's
Yeah.
nothing they can do. They can't sue anybody.
I understand,
House is done otherwise.
house is done.
It's all
Right.
done, and they're all
It's all
gone.
done.
We can make a
So
decision
what
on
variance
the middle of this,
applications are
basically,
outstanding right now? You said-
Well,
Just the New York,
absolutely.
New York State,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Department of State.
Department of
It's
State.
not outstanding. We're closing it up.
Okay.
And we've already gotten the New York State DEC, which weighs in on that one as well, to say, yes, we're gonna support this. Because of the unnecessary, because of the hardship circumstances that created the problem.
Yeah,
Is the DOS variance at all dependent upon this variance?
No,
Okay.
they're independent.
Okay.
But did you say you're closing that up? You know you're already getting the variance for that?
We believe so.
well,
We have every
Have you had a
reason,
hearing? I mean,
we haven't had the hearing yet.
because they're
but-
waiting for us to make.
No,
a
they're not
determination
waiting for
first.
you. They're waiting
Oh,
for the
okay.
assessment of the engineer who was only out there last week.
Okay,
do you have a date set for that?
Not yet. They won't set a date until they have a complete application.
well, I mean, the only other thing I just wanna mention, kind of, more generally about this is the first time that I can recall us having this kind of scenario.
I've never, had
Yeah.
this took me a
Yeah.
long time to figure out how to represent, frankly.
Right, right, yeah,
You did a good job.
yeah.
Thank you
Well,
very
and
much.
you also need to submit
Yeah.
something that, I mean, it's got its own standards, this variance.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
aware.
Okay, do we have something that shows that you've met those standards?
You're talking about 16916A, 1 and 2?
I'm talking about 169, I think it's 22.
We can talk. We don't have to do that here. I'll call you.
Okay, well, we don't need to talk, the board needs to know that you've met those standards, so.
So it can
whatever.
be a submission,
Yeah, it's gonna be part of the resubmission,
yeah,
which I may need more than a week for. So let's hold
That's
this
fine.
open for,
Okay, let's just.
however long you
let's
need,
go with 2 months.
really?
Yeah, I have a couple of vacations coming up.
Okay,
That's fair. I mean, that's a lot of material she has to get, plus the DOC,
Yeah.
DOS.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Is the house elevated to comply with FEMA?
No, that's the problem.
So none of the house complies with FEMA?
So this,
Right, and that's why they're seeking the variances.
I
Okay.
understand.
No, but that's
the-
not, that absolutely was not clear, because there's a difference between there being a basement and the house being elevated. I mean,
Not elevated. So
It's
the
not
flood
elevated.
insurance
but
is
it's
gonna
not,
be.
that's what I'm
the
saying,
flood
it's not fair
insurance is
to
gonna be
just
through
say
the
that
roof.
the
It's gonna be
basement and
through
the
the roof.
mechanicals
If they
don't
get it.
comply, the entire
If
house
they
does
even
not
bother,
comply.
they know they're
The
gonna
whole
have to
house
replace their
doesn't, yeah,
mechanicals
you're
every
right,
time it
Katie,
floods,
the whole
if it
house
ever
doesn't
floods.
comply.
They know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, and the decision that we rendered, presuming we grant the relief, is gonna go through this whole set of facts, which is a very unusual set of facts.
Very.
Um,
And
When
very
was the house
unique.
built?
The house was built between 2018 and 2020.
That's right, you said. Okay. And your client purchased it?
They purchased the other house and they tore it down and had all the permits to build this new house.
Yeah,
And all the permits were approved.
All of them, that's this whole stack. It's everybody. Everyone you could think of that you, wetlands permits, health department, New York State DEC,
yeah,
highway, engineering, everyone approved this and no one blinked.
yeah, yeah, well, and the builder and the, I guess it was the other person,
Architect.
architects passed away, you know. I
Would
mean,
you
it-
think
It
you'll have a
falls.
decision on the DOS variance by the time, within the 2 months?
I do not. They're
Okay.
really backed up. We don't have a complete application yet. And, I would take, it's gonna 6 months probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you
And-
wanna wait for us to
Well,
make
for-
a decision to see what happens?
I'm wondering whether.
They're not interdependent.
Yeah, they're not, I'm wondering whether they're concerned one way or, that is the DOS, whether they're even concerned about what we do other than if we deny.
Right, it's they're not gonna ask. The only person that's asking for both of these is the building department. They're
Okay.
not asking for you, you're not asking for them.
Yeah.
They're completely
Yeah.
interdependent, just like the Conservation Board and the DEC don't chit chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you need
Yeah.
both to get the CO.
yeah.
We need the relief
yeah,
to get the CO
Yeah,
from both agencies.
yeah. So the, you know, the risk in all of this is on the applicant. I can't see any, we'll see if there's anybody here, but I can't see any negative impact on adjacent property owners, although, we might, hear from them.
Yeah, if it floods,
But
it's
it's,
gonna
but
flood.
it's a tough one, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
I really feel for these people.
No, I know, everyone who I talk
Yeah.
to does.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate that.
okay, and,
Yes.
any other questions?
Yeah, would we, this board need to be indemnified, as the, against any possible damage if we were to grant the variance?
Interesting question.
No.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, and that's the thing, I mean, the town code contemplates that there are gonna be circumstances where variances need to be considered. That's why I was saying to Lori that, there's, just like you have the authority to vary the coastal erosion section of the town code, you have the authority to vary this flood damage prevention. It's unusual. I think this is I believe, I remember hearing one more application, but I can't remember where it was. So this is certainly the most recent one we've heard in a long time.
Yeah, I've never seen one like this.
Yeah, so it's, no, I mean, it's,
5 years.
just because we haven't done it doesn't mean you can't. It's not like
Understood.
you've had them and then you've denied them. You just haven't
I
seen
mean,
them.
you could see conceivably, someone in the future saying, well, it costs too much to elevate, I don't wanna elevate, will you give me relief not to elevate? But the distinction is that this is already built, it was built with approvals from multiple agencies,
Right.
with licensed professionals, believing that it was not in a flood zone, and it was.
And it is not possible to elevate this house.
It's all construct.
It's all built. It's a foundation. I mean, I don't know how you put that on piles
I
after
mean,
the fact.
people move houses that are on foundations.
I can get you a
just-
cost estimate for that, but I'm
I-
sure
That
it's
would be
gonna be
great.
astronomical.
Well, it may be, but I just, was asking the
No, I think it's a
question.
good question.
That's a
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
question.
It's fair to have in the file.
I think so.
I mean, people move houses all the time. They move them off of foundations and.
But they
They
lift
do.
them all the time
lift
to
them all the
raise their
time, yeah.
foundations, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It may create other variances like pyramid, et cetera.
well, I know, but,
Rather
this
grant
is
that.
an unusual situation and.
I know.
And looking at it from the perspective of looking out for the applicant, if there was a way for the applicant to avoid the exorbitant flood insurance costs, the risk to the structure, over time,
Right,
which
right.
may be a significant risk, may not, we don't know for sure. but, I mean, they've already put a bunch of money into building this new structure. I don't know, I think the information is helpful for us to have,
Yeah.
if nothing else, and also for the applicant to
For the
consider.
applicant to have as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So 11 by 17 plans, exhibits, variance standards from code section Katie and I will discuss, and the cost estimate to elevate the house.
Yep,
Okay, 2 months, and if I need more, I'll ask for it.
Okay, in the meantime, I want to see if there's anyone here. Is there anyone up on the public who would like to be heard this evening who's in the room in connection with the application of, is it Mudabar? Mudabar, okay, for property located at 28 Far Pond Road in Shinnecock Hills. Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which is again for property located at 28 Far Pond Road in Shinnecock Hills? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this will be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one on Zoom, okay. All right, 2 months, so, let's see, looking at, I think, first,
So are we looking
First
at
meeting in
October maybe?
September.
9/7?
I think October.
October?
I would say
Okay,
October.
5?
sure. I think it's October 5 or October
5?
19.
Kenneth?
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we hold the application, this application open for all purposes until our October 5th meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Macedonia,
Aye.
Ms. Kern,
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you.
That's a mess up, huh?
Sure is.
Liability insurance.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, item 4 on the agenda is Daniel Gutierrez,
No.
46 Springville Road in Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-260-2-15. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, and Town Code 330-83C yards to allow the detached garage to be located within the minimum required side yard for a principal building and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Good evening. I just have to swear you in and state your name and address.
Devin Springer, Dynamic Legal, 61 Jennings Crossing, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And tell us about the application.
I can, actually. So, back in August of '22, Mr. Gutierrez applied for a building permit for a renovation addition and a detached garage. At the time, the garage was positioned in what we considered back then a safe and okay spot regarding variances and setbacks. But the permit was not approved until January of this year, at which time the garage now became an issue as with the new determination from the chief building inspector in regards to required side yards. So now we are stuck with a very small garage, detached of course, no pyramids, it's properly off the line. I can tell you that we've received all the cards back. We have not heard from any neighbors, either yay or nay. And during this process, the actual building inspector who was doing the inspections for the house kept telling Mr. Gutierrez to just keep building it, which in hindsight, thank God he did not, because we know how you like to flog people. So, it's, again, it's, first of all, we are constricted by the lot itself, because we have 3 front yards.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where the rear yard is.
Well,
Is there a rear yard at all?
there doesn't seem to be, no.
Doesn't seem to be to me.
Nope. So that limited us, and the pool is on the other, one end. So this piece here, and again, like I said, it's a very small single-car garage, low roof, nothing hidden behind the house, so you can't see it from the street. It does have some plantings on the Atlantic Avenue side, so you're not even gonna see it there. On the back side of it with the neighbor on Atlantic, there is already a fence there, which is, it's a 6-foot fiberglass white fence, PVC, which is blocking it also. So we're stuck, A, for the 2 reasons, because of the new determination, and B, because we have no rear yard. So,
And you consider this proposed garage in the side yard, the required side yard?
yes, that's
That's
the
what the building
determination
department-
of the
That's what the
building.
building department decided?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's ex-
It looks like it's a rear yard.
Well, there is, no, actually,
The
that's.
problem is, it's the three,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
got
I
the
know,
3
but
front
so,
yards.
front.
Oh, I
front.
know, I
And
know.
so,
It's a
if you have
technicality.
3 fronts, why would it be a side yard versus a rear yard?
Well, and this is something that's apparently been changed.
You have 3 fronts, they usually do, they have to put it out and give them a side yard, because side yard setbacks are less
Correct.
Right,
than a rear yard.
I see.
but it becomes a side yard.
It becomes a side yard.
I
because
see.
there's
Right.
less
Right, because-
restrictive
Okay, thank
setback
you.
than a rear yard.
Right.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's still subject to lot coverage then, on the side yard, as it would a rear yard?
Thank you,
Well,
Madam.
there is no
There's no-
total lot coverage,
coverage.
yes, but not to, obviously, there is no required rear yard, because there is no rear yard. So that is that. Then I know that there's,
Yeah, we got the comments from the building department.
yes. So the other thing, which I'm not sure, so I was thrown in this a little late, yesterday, as a matter of fact, but, so this parking issue is basically a non-issue, because I don't know which survey you have, but this front yard driveway on Springville Road no longer exists. This has now been completely closed off to Springville Road, and this is being vegetated. So, I did not get a chance to talk to Marjorie, she did not return my call today, so I don't, we have a regular driveway on Atlantic Avenue, and we have a small gravel, driveway off of Ocean.
Okay. But,
So-
yeah, but I need you to have a conversation with her about this, about
About what she-
parking.
yes.
Because if you need relief for off-street parking, and we're gonna, need to, address that.
Yeah, I don't,
Right.
at this point, I don't know what, we have a driveway, and we don't have a ton of cars, it's
Okay.
a single-family residence, it's not,
Yeah.
there's no business being run out of it, so.
Okay.
And I don't think there was any other notes that she had.
Remove
Corner
fence,
clearance.
right of way.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing, but I'm not sure. I've looked at this thing 5 times, and if she could tell me where that was, I mean, if there's a fence in the right of way, I spoke to Mr. Gutierrez,
Yeah.
he is more than willing to take it down.
Yeah, and it's, we can't do
Right,
anything
right,
about
you
that.
have to. I
We-
told him you have to
the
take it
building
down. We
department's
don't-
gonna require it.
Right, so
that-
you're not gonna get a
Is
CO
it the
without it.
plastic fence?
Yeah, it's
that
right
we
up
have?
at the top on Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah, it's right
Yeah.
by
Plastic
Atlantic,
fence.
it's a plastic fence.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they're considering that a
Yeah.
right of way?
Yeah, that's the
Okay, so,
setback from the
They're
road. yeah.
considering it the road, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
Yeah.
your driveway's in the road too.
yeah, right.
yeah, so we can,
This is, yeah. the
I can
gravel
pull that
driveway.
back, the
Well,
5
you're
feet
gonna-
required by the highway, which.
I understand. It's gonna have to be
Yeah.
resolved.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And then she
that-
asked about floor plans.
Corner clearances is
Mm-hmm.
really important in an area like this, so wherever it is, whatever it needs to be, coming off of these streets onto Springville with the traffic there.
Yes, I believe
That's
those are
important.
in the highway determination notes,
Okay,
which he is aware of.
so you'll take care of that.
Yes, well, they
Thanks.
won't give, that's another one that they won't, if we
That's
don't,
a
they won't
real-
give us a CO.
That's a safety issue for sure.
And, I mean, she had, the plans, you just mentioned the floor plans, but the whole house has been renovated, so she has the plans.
Mm-hmm.
And it matches up with what's there now, because we had to do a new IA system also,
Okay.
so.
How did you, she wouldn't have the floor plans unless you submitted them to her. You gave them to her? She's not gonna pull the building department's file on it.
I would assume she would have, but,
No,
all right, well,
because
Be
it's
more
the
than happy
building
to give it
department's
to her.
file. The ZBA needs its own copy of plans and whatnot.
well, doesn't she normally look at the building department file when she's
No.
doing the determination? Oh,
No.
well, that explains a lot of things, okay.
The building department file is different from the ZBA's file.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Are these
Otherwise, she'd be
actually
mixing up
built? Did you
files.
say they're actually completed? It says proposed.
Which?
The garage and the proposed
No,
addition?
it's not built.
No, the garage is not built.
All right, and if he
The
didn't
only
do
thing
that,
is-
but what
is-
about the proposed addition, is that done?
Yes, this,
So my question is, why is it detached? Why couldn't it be next to the proposed addition? Why does it have to be a detached garage?
well, this is, at the time when we did this was okay.
Yeah, okay, but I'm asking now.
But can you just explain it, because you know the
Yeah.
board has been looking at the interpretations, how,
Right, it's-
but how is it okay? Because if this is, if you only have a side yard, how is that structure under any other
Yeah, I
interpretation,
mean-
how is it okay?
Well,
Why
because I'm
wouldn't you-
50 off the road, which is a requirement for R20.
Yeah, but it's talking about the side, what are your what are their side yards for the principal building?
For the principal building for R20 is a 45 with a minimum of 20.
Okay, and what do you have?
10.
Well, 10 for the garage, but I have,
But that's
And
what
for the
we're here
garage, that's what
for.
we're talking about.
right, well, that's at the, because it's a detached though, it's a 10-foot.
Is that are you 29 from the house? From the post addition?
Looks like 31.8.
Where do you see that? Oh, 31.
So down at the other end of the garage.
No.
I mean, here's the point, is if this was an issue in the beginning, he would have had the chance to attach it, but then this was okayed by, again, just like this before, and then come January, it's not okay.
What I'm asking you, listen, the board is well aware of the yards now, so
Yes.
I'm trying to
Yes.
figure out what part of the town code allows this garage to be, like, it's absolutely in the
The
side
side
yard.
yard, yes.
It's absolutely in the side yard. There is no rear yard, so this board has looked at the rear yards, right? If you're in the rear of the house, then you can have the accessory structure setbacks. You are absolutely in the side yard.
Right.
Right.
Yes, which is why.
And the town code says you have to keep your required yards open. So that's, I mean, I don't know, I'm asking you what section of the town code you think allows this? When 83C and 76D talk about keeping those required yards open.
Well, the problem is there is no other else to put it.
That's why you need a variance.
Right.
But you're saying this was permitted before, and I'm just trying to
Yeah.
figure out
No,
how.
I'm not, well, I'm saying it would have been permitted, or it would have been what they determined. They could have determined that it was okay. They told them in the beginning it was okay, and then they told them it wasn't.
Okay.
Because it's going from the rear yard to the side yard? Is that
Were
that
they
was the
were they
interpretation?
Like I said,
Giving it
I
as
came
a
into
rear
this
yard?
2 days ago, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
um,
We have
But
some
again, I
questions.
mean, I'm locked anywhere I put it, no matter what. I mean, with the 3 front yards, I'm stuck. You know, and again, it's not a, we've done plenty of, this
Well,
board alone has
okay,
done plenty
but-
of structures and.
I understand, but you only got this a couple of days ago, and you haven't had a chance to speak with Marjorie yet. And probably speaking with Marjorie might help with some of these issues. So I don't want to necessarily make things more difficult than they need to be, but I don't know.
That's okay.
We
Come
might
back.
want to have you come back after you speak with Marjorie,
Yeah.
so we'd have a little better of an idea where, what her concerns might be.
So did your client already enclose the attached garage and convert it into living space? Is that what happened?
Yes, this
The
structure,
proposed addition area was the garage. Is that what you were saying?
no, that was
Am I
just
lost?
an addition.
Oh,
No, there was
okay.
no garage.
There was no garage.
No, this was just a long ranch house.
Oh, okay, okay,
Um,
okay.
Yes,
All right.
and now, yeah, there was no
There
garage
was
there,
no,
that's just,
it sounded like it was a conversion.
yes,
No.
and this house is, this structure and project is pretty much 90% done. The only thing that's not done is the garage, but they do have the foundation there, but then they just stopped. That was,
Yeah, I'm still asking the question about moving it over to,
There is no, just, I'm asking this question as I'm trying to figure it out myself. There is no rear yard of this property. Is that my understanding? You got 3 fronts and a side, right?
correct.
So the section of the code, I'm sorry, I know you deal with this issue a lot. So the section of the code that we're talking about, right, is the one where it says, or is
I'm
interpreted.
gonna get the microphone over to you.
Is interpreted, right, that in order to benefit from the accessory structure side yard setback, you have to
Be in the rear
basically
yard.
be in the rear, right?
right,
Okay.
Right,
And so we
that's it.
have no rear in this case,
There's
right? Is
no
that
rear.
correct? Okay,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
this-
and that's the old interpretation, that's why I'm saying that, Kevin, I don't, old or new, I don't see how you have a conforming location.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
no question. Yeah, I'm
Is there any way to reassign this as a rear yard? I mean, I know that it isn't, okay.
And we, as a
Just
board,
asking.
and we're not in the business of having, you know, picking yards.
I'm not asking
as a
us to do
board.
it, I'm
I
just saying,
understand.
is it a
Well,
possibility?
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's almost impossible when you have 3 front yards.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
had 2 front yards, it would be one thing, but when you have 3, I mean, it's,
Yeah. Okay. All right, so, well, before we pick a date, I just want to, any other questions, members of the board? Is there anyone who's here this evening who would like to be heard in connection with the application of Gutierrez for property located at 46 Springville Road in Hampton Bays? Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is for property located at 46 Springville Road, Hampton Bays? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No hands, okay. All right, so Kevin, I think the consensus is that we want you to come back, is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so then, I guess my only question is when,
well, I hope to have a conversation with Marjorie.
Okay.
I'm sure it's not gonna be tomorrow, but
yeah, and we have a rather packed meeting on July 20th.
I think I'm here. I have another one that night.
Candace, what do you think? Think July 20th is too, we already got 13. Yep. And sorry it's a little hot in here. Yeah, AC does not always work for us.
But even if you speak to Martin, we still have the issue with Katie raised,
Yeah,
Yeah, no matter what.
No matter-
Yeah, there's no.
no matter what,
right.
Right, there is
Right.
no.
unless you move it next to the house and then maybe.
All right, let's come up with a date.
So the foundation is already in.
Yeah.
For the
It's
garage.
sitting there now, yeah,
Yeah, but-
just the footings.
Something to think about.
Mhm.
I don't know.
But the technicality, the technical.
Yeah, okay, all right, so I think,
Got it.
I mean, I don't know how long this hearing is gonna be.
and you don't mind hanging out for a few hours, waiting for us to finish the rest of
I'm
our
gonna be here
agenda?
anyway.
You're gonna be here anyway, okay. All right, so Helen is yours. I believe we're looking to hold it over until, have Kevin come back on July 20th.
And I'll also get Marjorie her floor plans that she's requested.
Right.
Helen, do you wanna make a motion? We just need you to make a motion that you have the lead on this one, to keep it open until July 20th.
Okay, we'll close, well, we're just gonna adjourn it,
We're just adjourning it, yes, keeping it open.
and, so we'll see everybody on July 20th.
On July 20th, so that's a motion, do we have we have a second? Okay, Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Ms. Kern,
Aye.
Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio. Chair votes aye. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Item 5 on the agenda is Daniel S. Collins Jr., 9 Willow Shade Avenue in East Quogue, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-344-1-41.1. Applicant requests relief for the following provisions of the town code for a proposed in-ground swimming pool. 330-11, Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory distance from street front yard setback of 10.6 feet, where 50 feet is required. And 2, 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures, uses in all districts, and 330-83C yards to allow the in-ground swimming pool to be located within the required front yard for a principal building on a non-conforming lot, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Good evening, you
Bob?
set to swear you in unless you're an attorney. You can state your name and address.
Yes, Daniel S. Collins Jr., 27 Canvasback Lane, East Quogue, New York, 11942.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Can you tell us about the application?
Yes, me and my wife, we rushed to buy a property back in, during the pandemic. And we knew we had issues with wetlands and flood zones, so then we had bought another one about 2 years ago. thinking that we were gonna build our house, and, we've been working on that, construction's underway. And, we have a road in the front and a private road in the back. And, right now the house is almost complete, septic system's in, we're almost to the driveway, and we're seeking relief, for a pool in the, I call it the rear yard, but I guess it's considered another front yard.
Yep, because you
on
have
the-
2 front yards.
Yes, on the Pine Neck Road side. There really wasn't an option for, I guess, to use the other side because our septic architect said because everyone's, the distance of wells and stuff, the septic had to be placed in the, on that side of the property.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically the way we laid out the house. And we
Okay.
originally had planned the house for, 4 beds, 3 baths. But, our current house, we're still working with Arthur on, but, so we're not sure if we're, keeping this one or not, but it's a work in progress.
Okay, so, you have a parcel that has 2 front yards, which
Yes.
means it's burdened with 2 front yards.
Yes.
Its lot size is 9586 square feet, or .220 acres. And we have a survey that shows the proposed house, which is essentially centered on the property, and the in-ground pool, which would normally be in the rear yard if it weren't for Pine Neck Road.
Yes, correct.
But because you have Pine Neck Road on one side and Willow Shade Avenue on the other, you have 2 front yards. In addition, you're seeking setback relief, which is not insignificant, from 50 feet to 10.6 feet. 10.6 feet from a property line, is fairly close. I would be concerned if it were next to, if that measurement, the 10.6, was next to another lot, but instead it's next to this private road, Pine Neck Road. So that's to your benefit in a way, that it's not gonna have the kind of impact that it otherwise could. That having been said, we'll have to see, I don't know what other options you have for a pool.
Okay.
Because we had the application that you just heard that had 3 front yards. This one has
Yes.
2 front yards. So I think on this one, you have 2 front yards and I think probably 2 side yards. I don't know if one of them's considered the rear.
No, is it a lot?
Yeah,
No, he has a front, 2 sides.
front, 2 sides, that's what I thought. So it's impossible to put an in-ground pool at a conforming location on this lot.
Side yards don't look big enough either.
No. And instead they need relief from side yard instead of, front yard. It would be the same, basically, ask for relief, but then you can see the dry wells, on both sides. And leaching, pool and what is by Willow Shade Avenue, and, well, it's hard to say which one is the front. I guess realistically, the front yard for, access would be Willow Shade Avenue.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Is Pine Neck Road an actual,
Is it
operating road?
It's, I mean, as far as my neighbors go, it's an easement for, it's an easement that I think maybe one property owner that has 3 cottage rentals actually drives by. Everyone else's houses are actually before that, before they pass by me.
Mhm.
Do they have
And-
do they have driveways that access the private road, or are they mostly in the front?
They,
It
it's,
doesn't look like, look at the aerial, it doesn't look.
the
Yeah.
properties that that are going, north, they, all have driveways in the front. And there's one property, I think, behind me that has a driveway, but their pull-in is actually maybe 50 to 100 feet before you actually get to my property.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones that drive by is the rental cottages, basically.
And you may or may not be keeping this property, I think you
Yeah,
indicated earlier.
yes, correct. Well, we're still working with Arthur on our original one we bought, but we knew when we bought it, we'd had wetland and, elevation issues.
Mhm. So, I mean, it'll be very close to this, private road, Pine Neck Road, but if you look at the property on the other side of Pine Neck Road, there are houses set back a pretty,
Quite, yeah.
a pretty significant distance.
Oh, yes, and yeah, going down the street, there's actually, before you even get to on Pine Neck Road, before you even get to my house, there's actually there's a few garages that are almost on the road, basically, a few feet off.
Yeah, and they probably don't have approvals. It's just a hunch, I don't know.
No, I think maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
That
well,
was- That's not our issue.
yeah. So, okay, so I guess we'll have to see whether any of the neighbors, are here and have any concerns, and then decide what to do. Any other questions, members of the board? Okay, is there anyone from the public who is waiting to be heard in connection with this application, which is the application of, Collins, Jr. for property located at 9 Willow Shade Avenue in, is it Willow? Yes, Willow Shade Avenue in East Quogue. Okay, if you'd like to, you can either have a seat or go to the podium, whatever you prefer. Yeah, you have to come up, we have to have you at a microphone, you can't speak from the audience. Sorry. We have recording equipment. Okay,
How do you do?
I'm doing all right.
Thank you for.
Yes.
No problem, I just have to swear you in, if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Roger Herman, 13 Willow Shade Avenue, East Quogue, New York, 11942.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can have a seat and tell us what you'd like to tell us.
Well, for one thing, just to start off, Pine Neck Road, there are cottages behind our house to the left, if you're closer to the water.
Mhm.
And the garbage trucks and other vehicles do go by there.
Mhm.
And the house is a huge house. It doesn't fit in with the neighborhood. The house is gigantic. It's 3,600 square feet on a small lot. His house is about 10 feet or 15 feet. It's very close. He now looks into my bedroom.
Okay, but that house was granted with, so that is, it complied with zoning. We didn't have, there weren't any variances in connection with the house.
No, that may be so, but I don't think you would wanna live that close to a house looking into your bedroom.
That has
And I
nothing to
don't
do.
think-
That's not
Sir,
before
This
us.
has nothing to do with this
The hou- the
application.
house
itself
Okay.
is
This
not-
application is about a swimming pool.
Correct.
Okay.
That is it. So do you have any
Okay.
comments about the swimming
Yes,
pool?
yes, I do.
Okay, let's hear
Okay.
them.
The pool is, should be what, less than 20 feet from lot lines? Not more than 20 feet.
Because it's in a front yard, 50 feet. 50 feet.
So, I don't know how you're gonna fit in it. Is there going to be
They're proposing 10.6 feet.
right, is there a cabana house gonna be
Not
built there as
proposed,
well?
No, not,
Apparently
it's not
no.
proposed.
Kind of driveway for.
Okay,
And where is your house located with respect to this?
Next door.
Right next door?
right next door,
Next door on which side?
toward the water.
Right, and we don't know that.
What's your last
Can
name?
you
It's
put, can you,
south.
can you point to where your house is?
See code red?
It's this.
Yeah, right here,
Right there, okay.
right there.
Okay. So your house is to the south.
Correct.
And the relief that's being requested is that the pool be located on the south, I think it's the south of his, or maybe southwest of his property, right there. Okay,
It would be west of
West,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
structure.
yeah,
Right.
right,
He's
Right.
here and that's there. so
right,
it's west.
right, yeah.
So, even so, I mean, will there be parties, lighting, what kind of fixtures are you gonna put at the pool? And noise,
Okay.
what
We-
about
we-
quiet enjoyment of the neighborhood? The rest of us
town
have
code
to
deals
live
with all
with
that.
it the rest of our life.
No, but the
There's
town
a pool.
code deals with all that. Anybody
What?
has a right to have a pool. The town code deals with all that, quiet use of enjoyment of your property, not us.
But they are
Well,
asking
but
for,
isn't
but they are
that
asking
part-
for variance relief, and so I guess sounds to me like you would like us to deny the pool all across the board.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll get to you, one at a
There's one
time.
other thing, the air conditioning unit and the heating unit for the pool is gonna be right next to my neighbor's house and not that far from ours, so we're gonna hear it 24/7 all summer. And I think it's just ridiculous to put a pool in that small spot. We had a real estate agent came to look at the house.
Variance for the shed, no?
They wanted to sell his house for him.
Huh?
And they said, there's no way you can get a variance for that pool. That pool, there's not enough room for a pool. It's ridiculous. And it really is ridiculous to put a pool back there.
Sir, you have the shed on your property. I'm just making sure I have the right property, right?
Certified copy of what?
No, you have the shed on
You
your
have a
property? I'm
framed
just making sure
shed.
I'm not looking at the right.
There was a shed that was there
No,
before
no.
I bought it.
I want to just make sure I'm looking at this, the proper lot for where you live.
Yeah, there's a shed.
Okay.
It was there when I bought the house. And then my next door neighbor toward the water has a shed. There's sheds all over, even, Daniel has a shed,
I'm just making sure I'm looking at the right property, that's all.
yeah. I guess that's about it then. I mean, I just think that the noise, the proximity, the closeness of the lot, the smallness of the lot, it just doesn't fit, that's all.
Okay, all right, we appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard? Just need you to come up, either to the podium or you can have a seat, whatever you prefer.
And, oh, just one other thing. I would think that if I wanted to sell my house, would you wanna buy a house with a swimming pool and a house looking in your bedroom? Probably not. So, the pool and everything, and it may fit the code, the house. But is it more than 32 feet high? Do you know? I don't know exactly. I'd be willing to bet it is.
Are we back at the house?
What?
Are you talking about the house, the height of the house?
The house itself.
Okay, the house itself was built pursuant to zoning. If you have questions about it, feel free to talk to the building department.
Pursuant to zoning, but.
Zoning, there were no
but it wasn't-
variances for the house.
Was it followed?
Okay, feel free to go to the building department and speak with them. Feel free to call code enforcement and ask them about it as well.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
And there's no shrubbery separating your house at this point?
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
there ever
Okay,
shrubbery
no,
there?
no, no, we can't have, only the person sworn in can speak, okay? All
Was
right.
there
So-
shrubbery
sir,
in the
you need-
past?
Hold on. Sir, we need you to come back up again. Sir, we need you to come back. We just had a question for you,
Absolutely.
okay?
What kind of shrubbery existed on the property previously?
Well,
On their property, not yours?
On his property?
Ma'am, you're not sworn in, okay?
There was a hedge,
If you'd like to be sworn in, I'll be glad to have you give testimony when he's done.
there was a small hedge. There is still a hedge.
But
between-
there's not what you would consider screening between the properties? No screening?
There's no
Okay.
screen.
Okay.
And
Would you want screening? If the pool went up, would you want screening? Would you want
well, there's
something
fences
put up?
now, there are
No, I meant
fences on both
Okay.
sides.
Landscape.
He has to put up a
Shrubbery,
fence and I
shrubbery,
have to put up a-
shrubbery screening, like, arborvitae, something, to
Muffle sound.
muffle
to
sound,
create
to
a
protect your
I
privacy.
don't know,
Site barrier.
It's so close out into the house. I mean, my house is only like, what I put, a big tree 10
Not
feet
you, I'm
from the
talking
house?
about the applicant.
The applicant, we could require the applicant to put up
Huh?
screening.
Yeah. So your house is 10 feet from the line
Yeah,
also, right?
right, it's very
Well,
close.
don't hold me to the exact feet, but it's very close.
10.4 feet.
At some point, you
Yeah.
must have got a variance to have that house
Yeah,
put there,
right.
correct?
Right.
Did you get a variance
Did I get a variance for what?
to put your house 10 feet from the property line?
My house was there when I purchased it,
When was that?
2 years ago, and it was built 32 years ago.
Okay.
Anyhow, the screening issue is,
A screening issue,
It's a
I don't know,
possibility.
I mean, it might help, I can't
Okay.
say it wouldn't.
okay,
But,
okay,
we'll
just wanted
consider that.
just wanted
but
to ask.
I don't think that it would block out much, and how long would it take the trees or whatever to grow? And what's it gonna block? Is it gonna block noise?
Sometimes, yeah, it does.
It's not a forest, it's only from here to there.
Okay,
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Thank
No
you.
screening for you then.
okay. Okay, all right, just have to swear you in, if you can state your name and address.
Ann Charles, 7 Willow Shade Avenue, East Quogue, New York, 11942.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank
Your
you.
name is Ann?
Ann Charles.
Charles, okay,
Thank you.
And if you can give us your comments as well.
Sure, I'm just gonna read this because there's been a lot of conversation in the neighborhood about this. And I just wanted to explain that the reason these lots are so small was because our house, which was owned by the Catholic Church in the 1920s, mine is only 0.18 acres, Daniel's is 2.2, and then Rogers is maybe 0.18 acres. So now you have 3 very large accessory buildings. The town of Southampton was actually challenged by one of the neighborhoods because we had a garage that was built, grandfathered in. So yes, it's a very, very busy lot now. Daniel's come in and torn down 2 very small cottages and built a very large home. So we're all concerned.
Okay. And as to the home, if you have issues with the size of primary structures in the zoning district, feel free to talk to the town board about the requirements for structures, because basically, my understanding is that structure, that big house that you're not happy with, complies in every way with zoning.
We have a couple of concerns about that. We actually did write, several people wrote to the town. We have not heard from the town, and there's been a manipulation of the elevation of the property in terms of dirt. So that's something that is a big concern for us. And that adds the issue of adding a pool, because we're low-lying, we're very close to the water, and if there's any flooding, even a slight bit of rain, our home gets a ton of water. So we're worried that this building that has just gone up with pretty exaggerated grading, and again, the town has approved it, I'm not saying that that's what I'm raising right now. There's a concern that if there's any more water on that property, we will get obliterated. Our home was built in 1920.
Yeah, and I will also tell you that the town code requires property owners to, absent an extreme weather event, maintain water on their property. So sometimes the engineering department will require dry wells or other remedial measures to deal with those issues. If you think that there's a problem with that, reach out to the building department.
Okay, yeah, I
Okay.
mean, so
Yeah.
we just want to say, we're strongly opposed to this pool and accessory buildings and structures, given how close we are already to, and the overbuild on the property. This is regarding 9 Willow Shade, East Quogue, SCTM number 900-260-2-15 in the town of Southampton. We believe that despite Mr. Collins claiming it's for his family, there is a current Zillow listing and realtors visiting that this is a property built for a quick sale. And that's relevant because we've had none of our concerns, which we've raised with Mr. Collins as well as with the town of Southampton, have really been taken into consideration. There are 2 front yards, but instead of having his property actually face one of the streets where there's an appropriate 50-foot setback, it looks into Rogersville.
Okay, but people are allowed to sell their properties.
Of course, absolutely,
All right.
but again, we're stakeholders, so
Mhm.
we want to just say,
Mhm.
this is a concern for us.
Mhm.
We've been there 20 years.
Mhm.
We've watched the street change,
Mhm.
only slightly. Everyone's very neighborly. This has not been the case in this situation. So our biggest concern, if it is approved, we want to make sure that there's stormwater management, because that will definitely affect the adjacent properties for us. So we'd like to suggest that some kind of system, whether it's a retention pool or drainage infrastructure.
That would
in
all
order
be
for
dealt
us-
with through the engineering department
Okay.
in the town, just so you know.
And then secondly, any calculations that were made by the town, we were not made aware of. We think if we could just have someone visit with us from the town, a building inspector, to talk to the neighbors, they would see why we're so concerned
Well,
and against.
feel free to visit the building department.
What,
We
It asks
have-
for
we've
that.
actually-
It
what is
asks
your,
for
ad-
it.
wait,
Okay.
what is your address?
7 Willow Shade.
So you're next door on the other side?
Yes, on the other
Okay.
side. And so we do have already a great deal of noise and nobody's moved in yet, because all of the gubbins for a building, faces us. And I have already started to grow grapevines and anything I can grow. I mean, anyone can do, I have great respect for my neighbors. They can do what they need for their property, but do consider that it's a tight space.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Do you guys have any questions for me?
No? No? Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, just,
Okay. Just need to swear you in as well.
Yep.
And state your name and address for the record, please.
Christian Charles, 7 Willow Shade Avenue, East Quogue.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, and give us your comments as well.
No, I'd just simply like to reiterate, there shouldn't be an issuance of variance in this case. We're concerned about loss of privacy, the setback. It's a very, very tight space. There's a potential for noise disturbance, and it's a loss of quality of life for us, plain and simple. if
Okay.
this pool goes in. That's it.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Thank you
Barry?
for comments. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to be heard in connection with this application? Again, the application is for Collins. Okay, I just have to swear you in if you can come on up. Okay, take your time.
Thank you.
Okay, you can just state your name and address.
My name is Peggy Alper. My address is 13 Willow Shade Avenue in East Quogue.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing
I
but the
do.
truth? Okay.
And just have us spell her last name?
Can you spell your last name just for?
A-L-P as in Peter, E-R as in Robert.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome,
Okay.
sweetie.
And if you can give us your comments.
My comment is that, I know you won't like this, but I have to tell you that he just lied under oath because there's a lot of underneath things that have been going on. He did not build the house for his family, okay? A real estate agent bought the land, okay? He has lied to all of us, okay? What he wanted was, he cut down trees so they could see the water. That was his objective. He has lied on Zillow saying it's a private beach, okay? He has lied, there is no family, he is building it not for his family, okay?
Ma'am, he told us that he was thinking of selling it the minute he sat down. And
We
I,
can't-
hold on.
we couldn't hear
I'd
him.
like you to take the temperature down. I think accusing him of lying like you're doing, I think that,
You
hold
know
on,
what?
hold
I
on.
want-
I think it's inappropriate in civil discourse.
Well,
And I
it's
don't
not.
appreciate it.
It's not, because I really think
I
that
think
we're
you need to
allowed
dial
to
it
talk.
back.
Okay, there's
I think you
freedom
need
of
to dial it
speech,
back.
and you have to know what went on with this house.
Freedom of speech is
the
one thing,
pool,
ma'am. Civil
okay?
discourse is another.
Everything that they're trying to push through, the real estate agents are starting to show the house. It was not for his family, okay, and his children. And he came to the house, he cut down trees on people's lawns, he even paid them, okay, to cut down trees.
And none of this is material to his application.
Well, I'm sorry, but I think you should know what's going on here. There's a lot of undercurrent,
Okay.
okay?
So do you want us to deny the application?
Yes, I'm a physician and I work very hard, okay? This
I'm
is
sure he
not the
does
truth.
too, ma'am. I
This
think
is not the truth, okay? And I really want you guys to know the truth, okay? I have spent my life saving lives, all right? He has made people very unhappy. For what? The bottom line, money? I could understand that. But he did, under oath, he did not tell the truth, okay? So I'm allowed to say this, and you gave me time, and I really appreciate it. But it's not for his family. His family already has another house, okay?
He told us that.
You know what?
Yeah. I think you've made this too personal, and I think you should stop.
You know what?
No, don't put your hand up to, excuse me.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
No, I'm
You are
allowed
not
to
to
sit
speak to me
here
that way.
and talk to you.
You're not gonna put your hand up to my face.
I'm 77 years old. This is my last house.
I think we
okay?
really understand what
We
your
get your
concerns
point.
are.
You don't want the
So
pool,
I
I get it.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah.
we understand, so
Yeah.
you've made your point,
Thank
and,
you.
and let's move on. And we have
Okay.
a lot to consider on this
Yes,
application.
thank you, thank
Okay,
you,
all
and
right.
thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Dawn.
Okay, all right, want to ask if there's anyone else who'd like to be heard in the room in connection with this application, which is again 9 Willow Shade Avenue in East Quogue. If not, is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which is again the application of Collins for 9 Willow Shade Avenue in East Quogue? If you were waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one on Zoom. Okay, if not, Bob, it is yours.
Are we gonna close this? We're done?
Well, wait, do you want to respond to anything?
You want?
Yeah, why don't we give an opportunity to respond first? That's a good idea. Yep.
Sure. Like as I said, when we first bought the property, it's, you know, it's for my family. And then as things changed, I was talking back and forth with Arthur, then it moved towards more of us probably selling the house. In regards to the drainage on the property with the pool, there's gonna be a dry well for the pool as is required. The engineering department already required us to put one in for the driveway, which is already in place. And there's already the ones in place for the roof. So the whole property has all the required drainage. And, I mean, if they make, I guess my neighbors to the south feel better, I could put trees in. I mean, it's only maybe 40 feet a yard. I could put like maybe 15-foot tall.
You'd be willing to do that as a
I'd be
condition of the
I'd
variance?
be willing to do that, put like 15-foot tall, like.
He had
Arborvitae.
he had no interest in it.
I understand
I mean, if it
that,
helps.
but
He's gotta move his shed.
sometimes we save
make it
people
legal,
from
yeah.
themselves.
I mean, if it helps, I mean, I'd be willing to do that.
I think that's a consideration.
Okay. All right, anything else you want to add?
I think that's everything.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you know how big the house is?
The house is 24.
It looked like 2,400, yeah.
2,400 square feet. It's
Yeah.
about 32
It's
by 40.
32 by 40, yeah. I just heard somebody say it was 3,600 square feet.
What was it?
No comments from the audience.
I'm
No
sorry,
comments from the
what
audience.
did you say it was? How much?
It's 2,400 square feet, approximately.
2,400 square feet? Okay.
Okay. If you want to give us information after we're done with the public hearing, you can submit something in writing. Okay, we've given plenty of time to this application. All right.
We're gonna
Bob,
close the
it's yours.
meeting, hold it open for written submissions until July 21st with a decision on August 3rd.
Second.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
I,
Mr. Tudhill.
All right.
Chair votes aye. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Try to discuss some screenings if you guys can.
Or not. It's up to you.
Yeah.
He's got no
Up to you.
interest. He's got no interest.
Yeah.
Try to do the right thing
Build
and.
a truck, build a wall.
That boy, Mike. That boy, Robert.
That she saved lives. So was I.
Okay.
Oh, my Lord. Moving right along.
Move right along to item 6 on the agenda, which is Thomas Carroll, 29 West Neck Road, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-112-1-4. Applicant requests relief from following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed two-story addition. 330-115D, continuance for a principal rear yard setback from 48.4 feet to 37.1 feet. And 2, 330-84D, Pyramid Lord for an encroachment in the amount of 870 cubic feet on the east side of the proposed addition. In addition, applicant requests relief from 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures and uses in all districts, and 330-83C yards to allow the proposed swimming pool to be located within the required side yard for a principal building on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction.
Anyone here on behalf of the applicant? Maybe
Yes,
on
that's
Zoom?
Mike.
Oh, yes. Okay, if you want to come on up.
Michael?
Okay. This goes to Mike.
Mike?
Please.
Okay, I just said to swear you in unless you're an attorney.
I am not an attorney.
Okay, if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Thomas Carroll, 29 West Neck Road, Southampton, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can tell us about the application.
So, I've had the home for 35 years. It's a non-conforming lot. There's been a number of my neighbors that have moved in, moved on. The neighborhood has taken an uptick in terms of people, as far as I can see, and you guys probably have documentation on it, in terms of people adding pools, doing additions. My immediate family, I have grown children out of college, but soon to be married. I have also an aging parent that would probably be spending a lot of time with us. So we just needed to expand a bit. So we thought we'd just push this room, if you will. I know it goes up higher, but according to our architect, it's not something that is on a visual standpoint, it's just almost not something you necessarily recognize and say, wow, look at this big structure here. And then we also just thought we'd drop a pool in. I've spoken to my current neighbors directly and also forwarded them the certified letters. I only received one back, and that's my neighbor to the rear, which I believe the property's in a trust. There's a lot of woods between us, and when I have encountered the individual that comes periodically, he's very pleasant and just says, you know, whatever, as long as you're not encroaching on my property, I don't have a problem. So it seems that everybody around us is supporting the project. And again, I don't think it's a great deal of disruption whatsoever to what's happened in the neighborhood. So I hope that I can move forward with it.
I think we, one thing that I wanted to ask about it, in the application it indicated that there was a design issue related to the addition. Somewhere in the application it said something about that. I wanted, yeah?
I don't know what that's in
Okay.
regard to. be honest
Well,
with you.
I just read it in the application. So I don't know whether that is the design of the addition necessitating the setback relief. I'm not sure.
My wife might have written that in there, so perhaps, I know we have a 20-foot, we're in R20, and we have a 20-foot setback from the, as required by the town, by zoning. We have a 20-foot setback from our neighbor to the east. We are actually, the existing structure is 23.7, I think. And what we wanted to do is, grab that 3.7 feet and then grab another 3 feet. So I don't know if that's what
Okay.
that
Well-
language is referring to.
Okay, well, the relief that is being requested in the application is relief for a proposed two-story addition to a residence, principal rear yard setback, 48.4 feet existing to 37.1 feet proposed.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
From the
That-
rear.
Yeah, from the rear lot line, that is, I circled it right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I have my, so
Okay.
the way it was explained to me by our surveyor is, I think we have, where the front of our home is, where the home is placed, is actually further back than that is now the code. So
Yeah.
he said, you know, maybe you get, I'm just going, you know, I'm the homeowner, I'm just going with what people are suggesting. Maybe you get some relief because it's
Yeah.
on
It's
the
roughly
rear
ano-
side.
Yeah, it's roughly about another 10 feet, relief from the rear yard, from what currently exists without the addition. And then a very, very modest amount of pyramid relief, and then relief to allow the pool in the side yard. And the pool, this is a flag lot, so whenever people have flag lots, there are these issues with what's the front yard, what's the rear yard, what's the side yard. So, I mean, looking at it, the pool seems to me to be proposed in what would
It's the
normally be a
back-
rear, the back of the
backyard.
property, what
Yeah.
would be perceived to be the rear of the property, but because it's a flag, and maybe because of other issues, it's, relief is being requested for the pool being located in the side yard. So
We
basically,
also got the memo from Art dated June 29th saying that they don't need relief for the policeman at the pool.
wow, okay.
Right, it came in the submissions.
Right.
Okay,
That
all
came
right,
today, yeah.
all right, so the pool is pretty
Pool's
much
good.
all good. So really, so really all that's left is, yeah, is.
One down.
Is the minimal amount of pyramid relief, and the rear yard setback relief, which basically impacts that, the neighbor, I believe it's to the north, well,
Oh, to the north.
to the
A
north.
little over 10 feet, okay.
Yeah,
Isn't that the one you
Yeah,
got the
so
letter
that's
from?
the Carpenter.
yes.
I don't
Correct.
know, it's, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a huge wooded section there, with a lot of, fallen tree. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I see this gentleman periodically,
Mhm.
2 or 3 times a year, and he just comes to the back fence to just gab with me, and I actually told him, because actually at one point, my back fence was a little wonky because of trees, and I said,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna just straighten that out, and I told him about the shed, that was a little wonky, and I said, I'll just make sure that's at least 10 feet up, and he was, thank you very much,
Okay.
but I mean, I
All right,
don't even know
so,
if it
so we'll,
matters.
so we'll see if he is, on Zoom, or.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
we'll
the
find
only
out.
one, or whoever the trust is, they're the only one that, it's, Daniel Everett Abbott, which I don't even know if that's,
Well, there's a Ray Abbott.
yeah.
I'd
And
love
So-
that.
his whole piece of property is largely wooded.
It is.
Okay. Okay,
So
okay.
do you have any idea how far away the actual structure on that lot is?
It's 200 feet
200,
anyway,
yeah, it's
at
hundreds of
least,
feet.
I'd say.
Okay, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a
and-
very old
And
structure.
I believe Mr. Cully represents the neighbor, so we're gonna hear from him shortly.
Okay.
Any other questions of members of the board?
That's,
Katie,
and there's all hedges there too, right? Isn't that what that
So,
says? Hedges?
yeah, I planted, like 40-something trees to just privatize against my neighbor to the east. And, when, if approved, we would also privatize more towards, the Abbott, Carpenter, family, as well as Cartagena, so, and I've spoken directly to Cartagena's, and he said, you know, whatever, everything is fine with me, and there's, the Bugoslavskis, they live in, Astoria, Queens, but, she sent me a text, wishing me good luck, but still did not return this, so the only person that returned it is the Abbotts.
Okay.
So,
All right, let's move on.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
I don't
okay,
think-
okay, so I'd like to ask, Mr. McCullough to come up, all right? Oh, are you here for this
No, no,
application?
I don't think so.
Are you representing the adjacent property owner?
Yeah, I represent the Abbott.
Okay, that's what I thought,
Oh,
okay.
Would you-
One last question, how tall are these hedges that you placed on the eastern side of the property?
Well, they're
they new
Leland,
plantings?
Leland side, yeah, they're Lelands, they probably are, I don't know, I bought them at 6 feet, they're probably, maybe they're double now. I mean, you know, I
Yeah.
trimmed them out, I have a neighbor who's a landscaper who just, yeah, it's
Okay.
not, they're not
Okay.
giant.
Okay, all right, thank you for the information.
Okay, great.
Okay,
You can stay there.
You could say.
yeah, okay,
Timothy S. McCully, 41 Meeting House Lane, Southampton.
okay,
I represent and have for forever the family, the Carpenters, and the Abbotts, who live in Texas.
mhm,
I discussed this whole application with them, and they don't have an objection to it.
okay,
Okay. You were asking how far the cottage is. It's a very small seasonal cottage, been in the family since the 1900s.
mhm.
And the family.
So it has
owned-
no running water?
Yeah, there isn't running water. There wasn't at one time, there was an outhouse, but that's fixed. But in any event, they don't have an objection. The cottage is way far away, and it's a seasonal cottage.
That's a lot to the north, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a 2-acre lot, and has a small cottage on it. And I don't think this is gonna affect that.
Okay, very good, thank you for your comments. Okay, is there anyone else who's here in the...
Better, right?
Is there anyone else here in the room in connection with the application of Carol for this property located at 29 West Neck Road in North Sea? Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is a property located at 29 West Neck Road in North Sea? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this will be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one on Zoom. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, if not, Mike, it is yours.
So we're not waiting for anything else, right? So we're going to close this public hearing and leave it open for written submissions until, I believe it's July 21st, right?
Yes.
with a decision that'll be read at this meeting on August 3rd.
Okay.
You don't have to come back, you can contact Candace in the office the following day.
Fantastic.
Okay?
Thank you, good
All
luck
right,
with everything.
thank you very much.
Okay, do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
I,
Chair votes aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, have a good night.
Okay, item 7 on the agenda is Roberto Cami, 12 Old Quogue Road in Riverside, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-139-3-47.2. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-82, lot width to allow a road frontage of 0 feet where a minimum of 40 feet is required for a proposed one-family dwelling on a landlocked parcel and any other relief necessary.
Dave, I just need your affidavit. Good to see you. Thank you. Board has jurisdiction.
Okay, Adam Grossman, I'm recused from this application. Aye.
Susan, it's all you now. Pressure's on.
I don't know if I'm gonna-
Tell us
So,
about the
Be
application.
patient.
Okay.
Tell me whatever you want.
First of all, I'm profoundly deaf. You're gonna swear me in first or no?
Are you a lawyer?
Say it again?
Are you a lawyer? No. All right, then let's swear you in.
Raise your right hand.
Could you raise your right hand? Tell
I
me your
will.
name and address.
Yeah, my name is David Lee Radican. I have a business at 33 Montauk Highway called Points East Real Property Services. I'm the agent for the owners.
Okay, and I'm
And
going to ask you, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, I
Okay,
do.
you're sworn in. Would you like to be sworn in?
You may, he will ask me sometimes.
Yes,
She
all right,
reads
let's
my
swear
lips.
you in as well.
Yes, my name is Barbara Radican. I live at 59 Watchog Avenue, East Mauritius, New York, with my husband Dave.
Do you, do you
And I
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you're both sworn
Thank
in. Okay, now tell us about the
Now
application.
tell us, okay. Well, again, as stated, I don't know, do you have to read into the minutes or no?
No.
He did already. He read the
Oh,
application,
see,
yeah.
Okay. As stated here this evening, we're seeking a variance from Town Code 30-85, lot width. We represent the owner, Roberto Cami, who has recently purchased a subject lot, 12 Old Quogue Road, Flanders. The property is presently zoned R15 residential and is a vacant parcel equaling 14,848 square feet. The property lies within the Aquifer Overlay District, Stormwater Management Zone, and Groundwater Management Zone 3, and falls within the Pine Zone Barrens designation as CGA. The property presently does not enjoy the required presently doesn't enjoy the required minimum 40 front feet, therefore it's considered landlocked. Roberto Cami's wife, owns the property abutting directly to the west. The subject parcel directly to the west is owned by her, single and separate from the subject property owned by Roberto Cami. This property would contain, we're looking to create a 20-foot right-of-way for easement and access. There was a variance approved by this board and was granted on January 9th, 1964. With that said, the land division sketch accompanied the board's grant of approval of a two-lot split shows a 25-foot flag that was fully approved. I have the application and the decision and copies of those if you need to see those
or I can give those to Katie at the end. We approached Suffolk County Real Property Services to confirm some of these discoveries, that the property was divided at one point. They did not keep any records, or so it said, prior to 1987. So we couldn't verify that the property was fully subdivided. But they do have approvals from this board.
But Dave, do you wanna get through that and then we'll ask questions, or?
She's asking, do you wanna go through the rest of it, or, and ask?
Yeah, well, let me see this.
Cause this board has seen this application before.
Yeah, that's what he was saying, that's what, yeah.
No, but now, I don't mean when he's talking about
Give that to
in
Katie.
the seventies, we saw it, Ed Brody brought this application and withdrew it.
No, that's,
Yeah,
That's-
he did.
Everything's gotta go to.
Yeah, and we have that in the file.
you want a copy or no?
That's the 64? Yeah, no, we have that.
Put that in the file. Yeah, this is my question. This is my question, Dave,
This is her question.
What's that?
This is her question.
Yes.
Okay.
because the lot doesn't exist this way. The lot does not exist this way. So do you know, the creation of these lots was what the board was struggling with when Mr. Brody brought this application. Do you know how the lot became this way?
How it became?
Yes.
It's all sketchy. Even there's no survey for it, but this was submitted with the application, and then the decision reflects back to this, how it was drafted. Let's see if I have a decision.
When was this one, 68?
This is the old, and this is Hampton Bays Road.
Maybe it was Flanders Road.
It was weird. It was just
Yeah,
strange.
well, and that's why I'm saying, that's why Mr. Brody withdrew the application, because he couldn't explain how this lot was created. I mean, this is a better application, right? When we saw it before, I think he was proposing an 8-foot right-of-way, and now it looks like you have 20, which is fantastic. And your client owns both lots, right?
The husband and wife.
Yeah, so but they own
Right.
the lot where the easement's going over and the back lot?
One is by the
No.
mom, one is by the, Roberto has one, and Berta has the other one, right?
But they know each other,
Oh, yes, they
right?
do.
They don't.
Married,
Okay.
married couple.
We'll hear from you later. Okay.
That's her
All right,
daughter.
just, you finish. I'll ask after.
Yeah, you can
You
finish
finish.
it.
The Camies do not speak English. They're not here this evening.
Okay.
Their daughter Brenda has joined us,
And their other
and,
daughter Anna,
pardon?
and their other daughter Anna.
Right, so.
Where's your, you can continue.
Yeah, I don't have the decision.
This does not even look like it's the same place, because it says Flanders Road, and this is Hampton Bays Road. So,
That's just another name for,
for
For
Hampton
Flan-
Bays
SR
Road.
24,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, learn something
old-
every day.
old
this
name.
is from 1963.
68, yeah, 63, yeah, 63.
Same road.
Yeah. Okay, just wanted to check.
Okay.
New and improved.
So Katie, is there any reason, because it came before us before, that we can't consider this like a de novo
Well,
application?
you can
Yeah.
absolutely consider
Okay,
it new.
okay.
But what I wanna make sure is that the questions that the board had the last time are addressed this time.
Okay,
and
and you
that
know what
was-
those questions were?
Well, I wrote down some of my notes. I would recommend that you guys listen to the hearings.
Okay.
I mean, it shouldn't be on me to tell you what's missing, but I will tell you that the creation of the lot last time was of concern. I mean, it exists, it's got its own tax map number, they purchased it. What's proposed, like I said, is much better than before, because before what was proposed was an 8-foot right-of-way, and the board had concerns about, people, emergency vehicles getting
Right,
over it.
so is this a matter of title search in order to figure out that the provenance of this lot?
I mean, all of that was done, somebody's
Yeah.
just gotta articulate it. I mean,
Okay.
you know, cause like I said, I had said to Mr. Brody, oh, you know, get somebody to explain this to the board. Mr. Brody did a lot of research, and I remember the people in the audience came before too.
Uh-huh.
So it's, you know,
It
I
is
do,
mishmash.
you certainly can't say the lot doesn't exist, it exists,
It
but it would be
exists,
nice to know.
absolutely.
Well, it's got a separate tax map.
It's
number,
been recorded.
So,
The deed
yeah.
was recorded.
And his deed, you know, the
As a
deed.
deed.
Yeah. We have the deed.
It also shows a 25-foot leg coming out to Old Quag Road, which
Doesn't exist.
surveyors or no one picks that up.
It doesn't exist.
When we went to mapping, they had nothing on this.
Yeah, that's why it's landlocked.
Yeah.
All right. Our intent is to make a landlocked parcel a building plot. And we're here for, not only that, we're here for some discovery as to what this land division is all about and whether it's a legal division. Again, tax maps do not show a 25-foot leg or flag coming out to the road. So our goal is to create access to this lot so we can get a building permit. The lot is just under 15,000 square feet. The Kamies actually bought this for their daughter, who's here today. She's been planning and saving money in the hopes of being able to place a home here. That's our quest. So we're actually looking for you to help us discover how to make that happen.
Who owns the property that you're proposing the right-of-way over?
What did she say?
Who owns the property where the proposed right-of-way is over?
This
Yeah,
piece here.
There was,
Yeah.
It's
there
this-
was an 8-foot right-of-way.
No, this piece here, who
Right.
owns this?
With the house, this,
Right.
that piece, who owns that? Who owns this?
Berta Kamey, the subject property's wife.
Okay, so it's a family-owned piece of
The
property.
two lots.
The two
Right.
lots,
And the
right.
other- Right, and the
Right.
other lot,
Yeah,
Two lots,
two
family-owned.
lots, two separate owners. They happen to be married.
Okay. Did we, and they've never been merged, right? I mean, it's not like, Katie, do we do a single
Single
and
and
separate
separate,
on this,
yeah.
or?
You're gonna have to figure out how this happened. I mean, that's,
she's saying you have to figure out how this happened.
I would suggest doing a single and separate. I would suggest getting a chain of title.
they have
that.
submitted that.
You
You
have
What does
it.
it
submitted a
say?
cha-
What does it say?
He was saying you have to get what do you call it, single and separate, and do, but we have all that.
Where is that?
It's folded over, you know, like in your application.
This
it's-
here?
They submitted that.
Is this the West Core?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Let me cut to
Oh,
the
here we
quick.
go, chain of title.
The lots were joined in 1981. Two of the lots were owned by the same person. It was a husband and wife. The husband passed. The lot went into the wife's name only. And according to code, that merged them. The issue is, this was an elderly woman, right?
And
It
she didn't
doesn't-
know to disclaim,
Pardon?
yeah, she didn't disclaim it, right, yeah.
It doesn't appear she had good
No.
counsel or even knew. She ended up dying in 1980. The county took the property over in 1981. And my gut feeling is she just was not well-equipped to be a landowner and know the complexities of what it took. So, it was joined, 1981.
47-2,
All
and
right.
this is.
Katie, guidance here.
I'm gonna give the same guidance that I gave the last time.
You guys have to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, you sound like you have it all in your head. I think that you need to write out like a timeline
Right.
of how, you know, how this happened. I know that Mr. Brody did a lot of research, I know that you've done some research, but you have to write it out in like a rider, so that the board can consider it, because the landlocked parcel, they grant that relief regularly, as long as you have legal access, which presumably you do. I'm assuming you're gonna submit a proposed easement, or maybe it's in here. But you just need to explain in writing, the subdivision was at this point, the subdivision never happened, that was supposed to have a 25-foot flag, there's no record of that anywhere, you need to.
Everything that you know.
Yeah, but
I mean,
we've
that's
gotta
what I'm
put it
saying.
in a narrative,
Oh.
so that we can look at the narrative
Alright.
and respond to that, because we've got bits and pieces, and it's difficult for us to see the whole picture.
Right.
So,
But we were coming across the same thing, because
Yeah.
he'd come back and he'd say, this is like not making sense.
Right.
Because of the way,
Sure.
everything, and then we see what Mr. Brody, I think his name was.
Brody, yeah.
And then why he left, we didn't even like why, we'd love to speak to the man and say.
Because he couldn't answer those questions, and
Yeah.
that's why he withdrew
You
the
know,
application.
do the best you can. It's probably not gonna be perfect, because the whole thing is a bit questionable, but give us the best you can in terms of a narrative, and, I think then we'll go from there.
So basically, whatever we explored and found, you wanna have that in writing.
Well, you need, listen, you want to establish that you can build on this lot. Access is part of it, the creation of the lot is the
Right,
other part of it.
right.
This lot was created by a subdivision that never happened, so it doesn't look like it's supposed to look. So like you said, I mean,
The land split did happen and was approved, and there's a decision on it. What is a little goofy is they show a 25-foot leg to Old Quag Road.
yes, so the land
That with all
split would.
records with the county was
don't
never
have.
But so
filed
then,
and never existed.
but then Dave, the land split didn't happen the way that it was supposed to. The land
Yeah.
split was supposed to have a flag giving this access. So, this is not the result of a subdivision, the way that this lot is configured.
But it looks as though this goes back to 1949.
I was gonna say, like, you'd never see anybody that was there at the time to even ask the question.
Katie, we're discounting that 25-foot leg and the land division, other than it was divided, separate tax maps, taxes on record since, the late 50s. So what we're looking to do is establish the right to place a right-of-way and give it egress.
I know what you're trying to do.
Oh, yeah? The other question I
So you're
have for
basically
the,
wanting it for the building picture, for the where you, Dave, basically, I believe what she's saying is for the building itself,
no,
that's why this explanation is needed.
okay,
All right.
we'll do our best. One more question.
Go ahead.
If the land was joined, what's the pathway to make them single and separate again? Because it appears this land was taken over by a half a dozen people. 3 people lost it to tax delinquency to the county in a succession of about 8 or 10 years.
You have a determination of single and separate.
Say it again?
You have a determination that it's single and separate. You
Right.
don't need to figure that out. You
It's already done.
submitted that.
Right.
We have that from January of '23.
Well, assuming that May 1st, 1981
reading?
is the relevant date, I mean,
What do you mean 1981 is the relevant date?
Just because they give us a single and separate search doesn't mean the lot is single and separate. This says the premises has been held in single and separate ownership since May 1st, 1981. So I don't,
So going before that,
well, at some point that's what I'm saying, like, a perfect single and separate search would say this lot has been single and separate since 1957.
right.
That means that there was common ownership at some point, which there clearly was, because there was some sort of subdivision approved, it's.
Well, didn't you describe that the woman passed away in 81 and she didn't assert her right to say it was single and separate? I mean, 81 sounds like the year, and then they say it's been single separate since then. So, I don't know. All right, Katie, how do you remedy the single and separate.
I don't, again, Mr. Radigan has to do what Mr. Brody did not finish doing, which was explain to the board how the lot was created. It's not, it's not just, nobody knows.
One more,
I mean-
one more issue. The former owner that the Kamies bought this lot from came to this board with an application to do the same thing. Establish a right-of-way. There was an existing right-of-way that was written in the deed, 8 feet by 65 feet, that was in play for a number of years. If you look on the survey, the surveyor discounts it and scratches his head as to whether it's still in effect. We are looking to make that right-of-way go away and establish a full 20 feet on Berta Kamey's property.
Right, which is, so the 8 feet was on a different piece of property, not on her property.
Another piece
Yes,
of
okay.
property.
All right, I think that the way to resolve this at this point is for you to do the narrative, to try to lay out all the points for us,
Okay.
so that we can take a closer look at it. And anybody else have a suggestion,
No.
Michael, anybody?
Anybody out there that wants to speak?
Okay,
Yeah,
so.
a couple over there. They
So
were here
if there's
before.
anybody in the audience who would like to speak, please come to the podium. Please come up, we're gonna swear you in.
She came the last time.
David.
1981.
How long do you think you need? Just
Well, let's hear what the comment is first, and then we can decide if she's.
Hello.
Okay, are you an attorney?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so then, could you please state your name and address?
My
Give
name
me
is
at least
Zuleika
2
Hines,
weeks.
1130 Middle Road, Riverhead, New York, 11901.
And do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
That's correct. Zuleika, Z-U-L-E-I-K-A.
E-I-K-A?
Yes.
H-E-I-N-E-S?
Yes.
Okay.
You got it.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I know it's late. So this property has been sold 3 times already, and it's always been sold under the condition it was a residential landlocked property. Now, this is the second time that I've been here because they tried to create easement on my property, which is right adjacent to it. So I have a legal 2-family house, which is right next to where part of the right-of-way is coming to. And if you look at the dotted line, it hits my window. It's right near an egress door. It comes really close to the window where I have children sleeping. And at the same time, I have a family downstairs. So my concern is that as long as the right-of-way does not affect my side of the property, then we don't have, my husband and I, don't have a problem with it. But the conversation's been going on, except it excluded completely my house from the mapping that you're seeing in front
So
of you.
what he's proposing is to get rid of the 8 feet on your property and put the whole 20 feet on the lot next to you, that's what I'm saying, it's much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah,
It's-
and with that being the
Yeah.
case, that would be we'll be in agreement with that.
Okay.
Our
Okay.
objection is that we do not want our property to be encumbered upon to create this right-of-way for.
And neither do they, so
No,
I
yes.
think that we've established that, so the question is not to use the 8 foot, but to do the 20 foot on the
on their
other
property.
property.
Yes, and to be able to create a proper safe way, because that is also a driveway for us to go into. And so if you don't have some form of delineation that protects from children biking and things like that, you're gonna have a very wide driveway. You're gonna
So
have
are
like
you
a 40
suggesting
feet.
having some screening or fencing,
Yes,
or?
please.
Okay.
Some screening or fencing that will delineate their driveway from our driveway.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like it's a bigger driveway.
Big
than
wide
it's-
opening.
Exactly, and then kids may think, oh, now we have a place to bike ride, but it's actually, somebody can be coming in or coming out, there's
And
an
it's somebody
emer-
else's driveway and they're not looking out for kids.
Exactly, or
Right.
it's an emergency, an ambulance has to come
Okay.
in, and then there's no delineation of that.
That sounds like a reasonable request.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the applicants will take it under advisement.
Okay, and that would be our only request and
Okay.
concern.
Perfect,
Thank you.
Wonderful.
thank you.
It's my husband's birthday too, so I
Oh,
guess.
happy
Happy birthday.
You know, it's really, Great how she slipped that in. I mean, you
She's
know.
looking out for you.
Not only that, now she figures she doesn't have to give you a present. I mean, even better.
My daughter's birthday, too.
She did just slip that in.
Yeah, she
My
did.
mother was looking that tomorrow's my birthday.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy, a lot of birthdays here. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak? Come on up. Let me swear you in. Are you an attorney?
No.
Okay. Can you please state your name and address?
Brenda Cammy, 97 Industrial Boulevard, Riverhead, New York, 1901.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Give us your comments.
Okay. I wanted to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to say, come and express the fact that we want to build a home. My parents want to build a home there. It is for us, my brother or sister or myself, since we're three of us. As far as our neighbor, we have no problem accommodating her, especially if there is children, because we don't want any type of issue. And the only thing that we do want is to make our community a better community and more presentable, because I feel like, the borderline between Riverhead and Southampton sometimes gets a bad rep, because you do see, that particular street used to look really bad when my parents did purchase that house on the corner. So we just want to avoid that. We wanted to make it look nice and presentable, and, when people come through the Hamptons, they see, wow, people are taking care of their community, and it's a nice open gate for people, and say that they're welcome there.
Sounds terrific.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this application of, let me see what it is.
Cammy.
Roberto Came?
There are nobody's on Zoom.
Okay. Okay, so.
All right, we're gonna hold this open, I'm gonna move to hold this open for all purposes for our, let's see here. What's the first meeting in, August?
August 3rd.
August 3rd, yes. Or 8/3,
So we're adjourning to 8:03?
yes.
Okay. Second.
Oh, so no written submissions?
Okay.
No, they're gonna come back on
We're
August
gonna come back
3rd.
with the narrative.
Oh, with the narrative.
All right.
I'm not gonna submit the narrative. You're gonna
Oh,
come
I
back.
can't second, I'm the
You
chairman.
can't second.
All right, somebody.
Second.
All right, let's take the vote. Keith?
John?
John?
Yes.
Yes, I.
Michael?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Helen?
I
Okay. Chair votes aye. Okay, we'll see
Thank
you in
you.
August.
See you in August.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck with everything.
Under re-advertised applications, number 8 is Charles Truns III, 98 South Road in West Hampton. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-11. You want me to read this way?
I do.
Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory side yard setback of 30 feet to 21.2 feet for a proposed pool, and an accessory side yard setback from 30 feet to 19.6 feet for a proposed pool house on a non-conforming lot, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Okay, where is the chair? Here I am. All right, he's coming.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you. I thought I already had this.
It's re-advertised.
Okay, so I believe I just have to swear you in.
Yes.
If you can just state your name and address for the record, please.
Steve Caputo, 120 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and tell us about the application.
Yes. I'm happy to be back in front of the board again. Thank you for hearing us. If the board recalls, the last time we were here, we had a posting issue with a sign. I
Yes.
think that has now been taken care of. I was at the property this afternoon. I have pictures if you want it. The
Okay.
sign was there. I
Great.
put it up with staples, screws, and bungee cord.
Concrete, everything, right?
Yeah, well, belted suspenders always seems to work.
Do what you gotta do.
So we have a very unique piece of property here, and we're asking for variance to be able to put the pool house and a pool in the property, and we need side setback. The uniqueness of the property is that, as you can see on the survey, when we go down the west side of the property, just up at the top, we have a bend. If that line were to have been continued straight, I would be fine on both, but it doesn't. The other issue that we
Oh,
have,
this
which is.
part here.
Yes,
Okay.
the little,
Got
the
it.
little funny turn at the
Right.
top.
Mhm.
The other issue that I have, as you can see from the survey, we've got wetland setback because that is a stream. It's not the Old Neck Drain, it is the west stream, and so we must be 100 feet from that. And there is a permit from Conservation to allow this construction to be done, because we were able to put the pool and the pool house more than 100 feet. It's actually 104 feet from the wetlands. So that is why we are kind of swung over into the corner. Additionally, because the house sits on the property on a kind of unique angle, the pool in the pool house has been designed to stay in line with the house so that it won't be jutting out in either direction. The last little element is, if that's not enough, is that the homeowners are desirous of keeping 3 rather large old-growth trees that appear north of the pool house, the pool, and the screen porch, which is the screen porch not part of this application. So they have a kind of the perfect storm of events that are causing them to ask for the relief on the side. In terms of neighbors, the 2 closest houses are on 17 White Oak and 100 South Road. The pool itself will be 112 feet from the 17 White Oak home, and it will be 90 feet, it'll be 90 feet from the 100 South Road home. The other neighbor that is affected up in here, I don't believe that neighbor's gonna have an issue, is that is the West Hampton Golf Course. So the golf course kind of comes in towards the top of our property.
This
So-
part here?
Yeah, yeah.
What
I
about
don't know
this
what
neighbor?
hole it is, I've played it a number of times, I can't remember what hole it is, but I'm sure I hit the ball into these woods on more than one occasion.
Me too.
That's 9, no,
Oh, gee. Oh, please.
that's 9. I used to sneak on and play it every night 50 years ago.
I think the statute is wrong, I think the statute's wrong in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why we had to make the application the way that we made it. The pool stays within the outer line of the house. I mean, if they were building this house now, they would have to come for a variance to construct the house because it's too close to the property line, but the house has been there for a significant period of time. The pool is tucked in side of those lines, the pool house is stuck within those lines. It's a very modest pool house, it's only 115 square feet. It's not a gargantuan pool, it is basically just that, it's a place to go in, take a shower, get cleaned up. So that's what we have, and that is why we've had to propose it in the location that we did.
Okay. Did you mention about whether you heard from the neighbors?
I have heard nothing. We got 5 of the 7 cards back and did not hear any comment from anyone.
Okay, all right. So I guess we'll wait to
You
hear.
didn't hear from the Ramseys, which are up here?
Did not.
Okay,
No, did not.
okay.
Okay. Any questions from members of the board? Is
No,
there
except
anyone?
that I stand corrected, that's 5. I was flipped over.
Oh, we haven't played in a while.
Okay, is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard in connection with this application? It's the application of Truns for property located at 98 South Road in West Hampton. Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is for property located at 98 South Road in West Hampton? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, if not, Helen, it is yours.
Okay, I have visited the property. I have no problem with the application. And we can close the public hearing and leave it open for written submissions till July 21st with a decision on August 3rd.
Second.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you so much.
And I have no problem with the application.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, item 9 on the agenda. modification request. Sean King, 6 Farmstead Lane, Watermill. Suffolk County Tax Map 900-65-2-33.5. On June 20, 2019, by decision number D019084, this board granted a pyramid variance to permit the construction of a detached garage and a variance to allow an accessory apartment efficiency unit to be located on the second floor of said garage. By a letter dated April 10, 2023, John Bennett, attorney for the owner, seeks to modify said decision as the proposed detached garage is being relocated and the proposed location would eliminate the pyramid encroachment, In addition, applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-77C, placement of accessory building structures and uses in residence districts to allow the height of the garage to be 23 feet 9 inches where a maximum of 20 feet is permitted.
The board has jurisdiction.
Good evening.
Good evening. Bailey Larkin with Bennett and Reed, offices at 212 Windmill Lane in Southampton, on behalf of the applicant, Sean King. In 2019, we were before the board and we received some relief to permit a construction of a detached garage that would have had an accessory apartment on the second floor. We had proposed to locate the proposed garage with a secondary driveway off of Farmstead Lane, and relief was granted to allow for that secondary driveway. We also received pyramid relief because it was close to the one property line. After we received approval, it was submitted with David Wilcox for extinguishment of a development right to establish the accessory apartment. When he was reviewing it, he noted that the subdivision map actually has a restriction against establishment of a separate driveway on Farmstead Lane. So what we did was we proposed to relocate the exact same structure within the property so that we would utilize the existing driveway. So it eliminates both the driveway access variance that you previously granted, and it also eliminates the pyramid relief granted. That also required that we entirely get a new septic system for the property, so Mr. King has actually just received approval to install a new IA wastewater system on the property and replace his existing wastewater system. The new apartment, though, when we relocated the structure and submitted with the building department, required a modification of your approval. Again, we're eliminating 2 of the elements that we had requested relief for previously. However, it was noted that the structure actually was proposed in excess of 20 feet in height. The structure was actually originally shown on all the plans that were submitted with this board for pyramid relief at an elevation of approximately 24 feet. We kind of squeezed it down a little where it was, but in order to get 8-foot ceiling heights on this building, on the second floor for the efficiency unit, we're asking for relief for the structure to be 23 feet 9 inches. We actually retained a different architect. It's the same exact floor plan, same structure, but Steve Lemansky, the new architect, was able to gain us 4 inches of height. If the structure was a flat roofed garage, it could be built. He's trying to build something with little attic space above it. The ceiling heights, again, as shown on our plans that are submitted with you, are just 8-foot ceilings, and it is to allow for that efficiency apartment on the second floor. So we're asking for you to modify your prior approval to grant relief from height restrictions for this structure.
Okay, and it also should, as you indicated, originally needed height relief, but that was apparently missed in the process. So, if we have well, it was before us previously in 2019.
Yeah.
And the plan showed that it was 24 feet high, and it was supposed to be max out at 20 feet.
I'm going
And,
to take responsibility and say we missed it also.
yeah,
I wasn't on the board.
Except so did the building department. I mean, that's, you know,
It's kind of a.
it's really the building department that reviews these plans.
Right.
But in any
But that's
case,
one of the reasons why we usually ask about height, and just, you know, applications. so-
Yeah, yeah, and so on the one hand, because of the reasons that Bailey mentioned about, I guess about the subdivision, one driveway eliminated, pyramid relief eliminated, and instead we have height relief, and as you may recall on a few other applications, if we have a choice between pyramid and height, we'd rather have
We
a
like
pyramid.
pyramid.
But here we are, and,
Well,
A
and
little
that's-
give and take.
Yeah, and that's usually for principal too.
it's true, it's true. And it's unusual for us to have a request for height relief for an accessory structure. So,
Can I ask a
I don't know.
question about
So 3.9 feet.
accessory apartments above garages? So they generally can come in at 20 feet?
yeah, I mean, usually we have other
Then
kinds
why in this
of
case
relief.
is
Right.
it not possible to come in at 20 feet?
They wanted to add attic space.
They're trying to make it, if you look at the elevations for the structure itself, if we were to comply with the 20-foot restriction, it would basically cut off the top of the structure. It's
And-
been
and-
designed to be the pitched roof
As opposed
structure,
to a flat roof.
consistent with the cape design of the existing house, and as opposed to a flat roof structure. They did lower the pitch a little, 4 inches less than what we previously had, but if we lowered any further, it's essentially a flat roofed structure in the back of the residence. This
Okay,
allows
so-
for
So is a flat roof structure something that's entirely out of, not a possibility?
Well, it also allows for mechanicals with an 8-foot ceiling height on the second floor,
Mhm.
HVAC system and all of that to be run above the 8-foot ceiling height. At 20 feet, that's where our 8-foot ceilings are. So it's essentially the variance relief is to allow for that small attic space above.
And one can make the argument that this application is a proposed, it's a modification to a previous decision, but it's a proposed structure, not a structure that's already built. One can make the argument that we might have a bunch of other applications with garages with apartments above that would ask for height relief as well, using the same
Well, that's what
reasoning.
my concern is. I
Does it
mean,
have to be
Yeah.
advertised for
I
a
think
whole new
that's-
application then?
We did advertise it as a new application.
Right,
essentially.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, we made a very big issue about height for principal structures, and I don't know, I think that we have to give some consideration to height here, and like Adam says, we're always being hit with precedent, everything is done, done this 1,000 times, and I don't know, I think that if we've been approving accessory apartments above garages before, and it hasn't really come up before the board that often, I think it's an issue.
I can't recall it happening often. Katie, I don't know if you have any recollection of
I don't-
height relief.
I don't
for-
know, I
Yeah,
hadn't thought of
yeah.
it.
What else could you do with mechanicals? Do they have to be in the ceiling and roof?
Right now, we have proposed mechanical space on the first floor of the 2-car garage, but HVAC was being run through the attic space as well as just to allow for the architecture of the structure. I can go back to our architect and see if there's anything further he can do, but just
So you're having the duct work through the
correct,
attic?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm getting a sense that we'd like you to explore what can be done to reduce the height.
I don't have a
Michael's-
problem with the height. I think for an accessory apartment on top of a 2-car garage, I don't have a problem with it, but that's just me.
Okay. Anybody else?
I don't have a
I
problem.
don't have a
with it.
problem
I
either.
don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
principal structure is at 32 feet, we're asking for
Right.
a little over 23, so it
Oh.
will still be lower than a principal structure
Well,
on
absolutely,
present
but,
on-
yes, no, that's true. I am concerned because of the fact that, it's gonna come back and hit us time and time again. So I am concerned. I don't think it's an enormous amount.
This board doesn't set precedents, hasn't ever
Yes,
set
I
precedents.
understand, but,
Each case has its own merits.
yeah.
But
And I appreciate the fact that this was missed, and so we're doing a correction, technically. But I'm just raising my concerns about the 20.
Okay.
Right,
So-
it's 1 inch lower than what was already approved.
So Bailey, so I'm gonna leave it up to you. I'm not sure. It sounds like there may be 4 votes here for what's
I'm
being
not
proposed.
sure I have a problem with it either.
Yeah, yeah. So it's up to you, whether you wanna leave it as is, or whether you wanna explore the possibility of reducing the height.
I would prefer to leave it as is. Our client has made significant changes to this application since we were here before, not only moving the structure, but because of that, he did have to actually replace his entire wastewater system for his residents. He had been, considering what he was doing, and now he is replacing his wastewater system with an IA system because of, the timeframes that has passed, so, he has already spent quite a bit of money designing the structure, appearing here before and now again, so I'd like to leave it as is.
Okay, I'm good with it.
Anybody
Yes,
else?
is there anyone, I'm sorry.
No,
any
no, I
questions?
said I think that's fair.
Okay, all right, so is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard this evening in connection with the application of King? This is for property located at 16 Farmstead Lane in Watermill. Is there anyone waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is for property located at 16 Farmstead Lane in Watermill? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this will be the time to let us know by raising your hand. Okay.
Seeing and hearing no one, I'm gonna make a motion to close written submission 7/21 with a determination on 8/3.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
I,
Chair votes aye. Thanks so much. Have a good rest of your night. Yep.
Yeah.
Moving right along. There's a long one that I missed.
You missed a long one.
I did. I was waiting.
Candace, you,
And you see, the board can't operate without me, I
Candace has
swear.
an
It's true.
What?
Actually, he can just call it.
Item 10 on the agenda is Eric J. Belfi and Tara Belfi, 106 Cold Spring Point Road, in Tuckahoe, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-155-1-30. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-80.
you don't have to read it.
You don't have to read it. Adam, I'm
Yes.
in receipt of a letter from, Mr. Gilmartin.
Yep.
And he's requesting that the application be re-advertised. As the relief requested is less than the relief that's being required. So he wants to re-advertise.
Okay.
Okay,
Do we have a date?
And let me see,
well,
he did
we gotta
tell
figure
me-
out, he's probably gonna need the meeting after the next for time-wise.
Oh, no, I told him,
Oh,
August
yeah.
3rd is fine.
August 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so it looks like this application, the application of Belfi, is going to be re-advertised for our August 3rd meeting, in case anybody's here in connection with it.
All right, item 11 on the agenda is 406 Ground Road, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-81-3-21. This is adjourned from our 6:15 meeting.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just have to swear you in whenever you're ready. You can state your name and address for the record, please.
Susanna Herman, N Consultants, 1319 North Sea Road, Southampton.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And tell us about the application.
Okay, so this application is to legalize two structures, one of which has been there for decades. The other is a deck which I believe was just built in the last few years by the previous owner of the property. I have some photographs of the site, which I can hand up.
It's cooler in the hallway, just so you know.
It's good.
A lot cooler.
We should relocate to the hallway?
We should.
Bunch of hot air.
Jay was in here, the air would be on. Who's responsible? This is who? Susan?
Susan.
Yes.
Suzanne, I need one more, because I had to give the original down. Thanks. No.
Feels like the heat is on.
It does.
I don't get hot. I'm one of those people that's always cold, and I am.
Yours
No.
is hot.
I'm hot, so you know it's hot.
Take one and pass?
Yeah.
So-
There should be a photo set for each person. So this lot is on the corner of Strong's Lane and Hayground Road in Watermill. It's a triangular piece of property. It's a perfect triangle. It's got 2 front yards along each of the roads, and the northern property line is considered a side yard. The lot is undersized at 24,875 square feet in a CR 80 zoning district. The house and the garage were issued a pre-existing certificate of occupancy in 1984 because they were built prior to 1957. A variance was granted for the swimming pool in 1986 to allow it to be 30 feet from Hayground Road and 23 feet from the northern property line, the side yard. About the same time that brick patio in question was added, I looked back at aerial photographs. From what I can tell, the aerial photographs aren't great in the 80s, but it looks like it was put in place about the same time. It's at grade. You can see in the photographs that it is just a brick patio at grade. There's no way to see it unless you go into the yard and into the pool fenced area, which is right around the pool. The entire property is surrounded by a very mature, very tall privet hedge. In addition, along Hayground Road and along Strong's Lane, there are large trees inward from the hedge line on the property.
Is part of the hedge line in, well, it's well over the property line, is it in the right of way?
It is beyond the property line.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay,
it's
just an
also-
observation.
Also been there for years and years.
I'm sure.
On the northern side, where the patio is closest, the patio is about 16 feet from the property line. The hedge is actually inward of the property line. There's a little path that goes between this property and the property to the north. The pool patio is over 100 feet from the house that's located on the property to the north. I measured it about 109 feet away from that house. So the patio is having absolutely no impact on anyone. The same with the wood deck that was constructed on what serves as the rear of the house. The entrance, the driveway is off of Strong's Lane. Despite the fact that the town has the property listed as 406 Hayground Road, there's a little sign on Strong's Lane that says to
Yeah.
Strong's Lane.
Right.
That's the only entrance to the property is through that,
It's not on Hayground, no.
yeah. So the deck off the back is more than a foot above grade, thus it would have required a building permit. It's only about 18 inches above grade, and it's 21.3 feet from the property line, where 28.6 would have been the required setback, because that's the setback of the grandfathered house off of Hayground Road. So even though it's basically flush with the front of the house, the way the property gets narrower as you head towards the point of the triangle, it does get closer. So we're just trying to legalize these 2 structures.
And both structures were, we believe were built by a prior owner. And so I presume that there's no information as to how they were built, who built them.
I'm assuming that the brick patio obviously has been there since the 80s. I'm assuming it was put in at the time of the pool. They were under the impression that a patio wouldn't require building permit. It doesn't typically have to meet setbacks except in the required side yard, which is confusing on this property, to say the least. So my assumption with the wood deck is similarly, they assumed they didn't need a building permit for it. It was a COVID project, so.
That was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was just a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
from what I can tell.
And a wood deck, they should have known. They should have known.
They should have known.
Yeah.
But it's 18 inches.
It is.
Right.
Not
Yeah, it's
4 feet.
nothing
Right,
no-
right.
enormous.
Yes.
And again, I included photographs in the packet from Hayground Road and from Strong's Lane. no one can see this unless you go into their driveway, walk around their house, and
Right,
you're standing right in front of it.
Which I actually did. And you can't see it.
You can't
at all.
see it,
It's
right.
very disguised.
Okay.
It's very private.
Right.
The lattice around the pool, you can't see anything.
Right.
And it's like,
Okay. And have we heard from any of the neighbors?
I have not.
Okay.
Oh, and I also wanted to point out that across Strong's Lane and across Hayground Road is farm field.
right.
So the only possibly impacted neighbor would be the neighbor to the north, and the pool patio and the deck are both invisible from their property.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
No.
Is there anyone up on the public who would like to be heard in connection with the application of Curtihy for property located at 406 Hayground Road in Watermill? Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is property located at 406 Hayground Road in Watermill? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one on Zoom? Okay, if not, Susan, it's yours.
Oh, okay. So we're going to close the public hearing, and I propose closing the public hearing, leaving it open for written comments for 7/21 with a decision on 8/3.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Daly?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
I,
Mr. Tudhill?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, item 12, which is a holdover application. Richard J. Flood, Mary Ann Steffens, 188 Noyak Avenue in Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-5-4-65. This was held over from our 6:15 meeting.
Okay. And I believe the last time we had gotten submissions at the hearing, and the board members wanted to have a chance to review them.
Yes.
So, which I'm hoping all took place.
And Susan had indicated she did not have a full set of plans, so I provided that
Okay.
with copies
Thank you.
for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
And I actually went to the property.
I'm sorry?
I went to the property.
Okay.
You've cleared the whole property, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
And it's small. It's a small piece of property, there's no question.
62 by
Yeah, yeah, it's small. And I looked at it with the plans, and I was just a little concerned about, kind of overlooking the neighbors, with I know you made an adjustment on the height, but I'm still concerned in terms of the pyramid relief, with the windows in the dormers overlooking the property of the neighbor. And in fact, we do have one letter from a neighbor.
Is that Patty?
That was, it is, it's right here. This is from previous, we didn't discuss this the last time.
Okay,
It's
I
from
didn't-
Dorothy Horgak.
Yeah, well, she's talking about her neighbor, but she lives all the way down the road, Dorothy, and I know her.
Well,
she
I
used to
don't know,
work-
she said, you can look right into my property from the back of your property. You can't, okay. I just, she was talking about screening and privacy, so
Yeah, but I'm
she's on
willing-
Elm. She's on Elm. She's not on Noyak, but she's on Elm.
Yeah.
The entire property will be screened when I'm done.
Okay, so we could say that it will be
Yes.
screened.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay.
And we can condition that screening?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and a maintenance, whatever you want, the normal, what you do.
Do you happen to know the totals and everything? I wasn't at the last
I'm
meeting.
sorry?
Do you know the total of the pyramid and the height?
Total pyramid
Yeah, the
relief. I was just
total
gonna ask
is
that.
in my memo. It's 5,373.29 feet,
Right,
and that's 22,746.64 feet on the west, and 26.65 on the east, unless I'm wrong.
And then the
No,
height
you-
complies?
You got it.
Bless
I'm following you.
excuse me, what was that, Katie?
And then, Tim, the height complies now? I- I-
31.5 feet now is the
Yes,
height.
we lowered the height,
lowered
that's
the
what
height.
caused the pyramid.
Got it.
Because it,
31.15.
Oh, I was sorry, 31.15.
All right.
And hold
well,
on.
that was the original application, which the board indicated they weren't in favor of, as you just told Bailey Larkin,
Yeah.
you would not like.
Oh, no,
to
so the
get
height
it.
complies, because it was
Now
initially
it's complying.
33.5, yeah,
Yeah,
it
and they
complies.
put in the dormers
now?
with the.
Now it's
Yeah,
We
now
told,
it
we
does.
told Bailey that we would rather give pyramid relief than height relief.
Exactly, and that's
That's
what
right.
you
I
told
have,
us.
you know, I'm
That's
sorry,
right.
I'm consistent. I am consistent.
I'm sorry?
I'm consistent, but.
No, that's what, and that's what you had said.
Yes.
And you were
And that's,
consistent
and that's,
with
you, and that's,
Bailey.
that's
And you
right.
came back with the
Yeah.
dormer, with the, it's considerable pyramid relief,
Yes,
though.
but let me just refresh your recollection. There's a property that you granted almost 4,000 square feet to, right down the road. That was a wider lot and a bigger lot. And then there's one that's smaller, 3,900 square foot lot, that you gave 8,000 and something to.
Okay, but you know, you heard Mr. Tuthill say that nothing is a precedent, right? You know, that we don't.
No, I'm pointing out.
Yeah, I know, I
He's,
understand, but.
he's talking
are
about
not-
the neighborhood, he's talking about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
bound by.
I understand, I
Yeah.
understand.
There, and there can be
but-
differences from one lot to another.
You can't
It's the
discriminate,
facts.
I mean, if you,
Right.
you know, if you do.
Well, it's, you know, in all fairness,
seen this
it's a lovely
application a lot.
neighborhood. I mean,
It
and
is.
it's very, it's got small
Okay.
structures and it's really adorable.
But it's changing.
Well, they're
And
all
it-
changing, yes.
And here's the thing, if you look at the houses, even the older houses, because the smaller lots, would need pyramid relief if they were coming to you to
Maybe,
build those
maybe.
today.
Yeah,
Right.
And they all have basements,
right.
and Mr. Patton's lot next door, they got a variance for 7 feet
Right.
from this lot.
I tried to design the house to be cottagey,
Yeah,
the kind of one.
cottagey, yes, because that's what's there is cottages,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. The design of the house is very,
And if
not
you
like
look
the
at-
one next door.
And if you look at the ones across the street,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
they're,
they're adorable.
you know, they're bigger, they're in
Yeah.
a flood zone, so they're up. So those structures they are what they are.
And-
I laid it all out in my memo, and it is what it is.
And then I just want to say that, you know, we're not just granting pyramid relief, we're also granting an exception to lot coverage from 20% to 24%,
Right.
and
And the
rear
flood-
yard setback and accessory rear yard setback for the pool.
Yes.
All right, so there's, you
Well,
know,
the
that we
rear
shouldn't
yard-
lose sight of the
Okay,
fact that
but
there are
here-
other things in the variance
Here's the
request,
thing,
too.
on the rear yard setback from 3 to 24.
Yeah.
That was because, the refresh your recollection, because we're putting it in an IA system.
That's right.
And
He's doing the,
keep in
he's doing
mind,
the water
when
for
this
the-
house is built, we are,
Water for
giv-
the other
we're
property.
the
giving
water.
public water to everybody on, that's surrounding us, that's
And we had to
required.
set the house 5 foot further back, instead of 30 feet, 35 feet.
Yeah, right, right,
Because of Suffolk County Health Department.
Yeah.
right.
Okay, well, I appreciate the fact that you put a great deal of effort into revising this application.
Yeah.
And I know you've been, back a few times, and, you know, and you've, done what you can to try to address our concerns.
Right.
So I think at this point there are 4 votes for what we have, but I can't speak for
I'm okay,
other board
I'm
members.
okay with it.
Okay, thank you. The votes are there, or they're not? I'm
Well,
used to it.
I'm not sure, but I.
Sounds like they are, I mean,
Okay,
but, yes,
I understand that it sounds like a lot,
yeah.
but when you look at the neighborhood and what's been done in the past and what's been
That's
done.
Ellen.
Well, maybe I should ask a little,
Well,
if anyone else would like to comment about where they are with this.
But you are agreeable for screening,
Yes.
substantial screening, to
100%.
protect the
Yeah.
privacy of the neighbors,
Yeah,
because
makes
it's
sense
very,
for
they're
us.
small, it's a
It
small
make-
lot,
Yes,
and you're right up against your neighbors, yeah.
right.
And we would do that anyway.
Yeah, anyhow,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
So, John and Mike, do you want to share, do you have any thoughts?
no.
I appreciate the work that you did.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes,
I have to say that,
Thank you.
and I'm pleased
Okay,
to
thank
see
you
what you
very
brought
much.
to us.
okay.
And, it is what it is.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you
so,
very much.
Okay.
is there
Thank
any?
you.
Well, I just want to ask, is there anyone from the public who'd like to be heard in connection with this application? The application of Flood and Steffens for property located at 188 Newark Avenue in Sag Harbor. Is there anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is for property
Thank you very much.
located at 188 Noyak Avenue in Sag Harbor? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. Okay, all right.
So
Susan, it's yours.
It's mine. I'd like to recommend that we close the public hearing, that we leave it open for written submissions to 7/21 with a decision on 8/3.
Second.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I think Helen said aye.
What do I do with the hazard button?
You just don't hit it unless
Don't
something
hit
really
it.
bad happens.
Just leave it right there for
Just
now.
don't
Okay,
touch it.
okay.
What happened to it?
It fell off.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Well, but better falling off than someone hitting it by accident.
Okay, good.
Have the
Madam, you
police
ready
here.
for this
Now you made
lead
me nervous about it.
determination, this lead agency resolution for 535 East Quad Realty, whatever?
Yep, I have it.
Was that the gas station?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a resolution, a secret resolution in connection with the application of East Quogue 535 Realty, Inc. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals has received modified submittals for the application of East Quogue 535 Realty, Inc. for property located at 535 Montauk Highway, East Quogue, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-341-152. And whereas after a review of the revised submittals, the Zoning Board of Appeals found that this project remains an unlisted action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, (SECRA), and re-coordinated review with the following involved agencies: the Southampton Town Planning Board, Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and Suffolk County Department of Public Works. And whereas the Southampton Town Planning Board has indicated that they would like to assume lead agency status in connection with the SECRA review of this project, now therefore be it resolved that the Southampton Town ZBA hereby agrees that the Southampton Town Planning Board should assume lead agency status with regards to the revised application of East Quogue 535 Realty, Inc. pursuant to 6 New York CRR, Section 617.6B. And be it further resolved that this board directs that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Southampton Town Planning Board, Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and Suffolk County Department of Public Works.
Second.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kern. Chair votes aye. Okay, we on to decisions?
Yeah, I have
You want to
one.
read yours first?
I have one decision, so let me read that. I have a decision in the matter of the application of Gerald and Ellen Perino. This property is located 28 Benito Road, East Quogue, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-362-4-28. Applicant requested variance relief for a pyramid encroachment of 4,032 cubic feet to construct a second story onto an existing dwelling. Property has 2 front yards, as it has road frontage on the east and a lagoon on the western property line. In response to concerns from the ZBA with respect to the pyramid encroachment on the lot that is not located in the flood zone, applicant reduced the encroachment to 2,362 cubic feet, a reduction of 1,670 cubic feet from the original proposal. The pyramid relief requested consists of 676 cubic feet on the south side of the house and 1,686 cubic feet on the north. Changes were made to the roof pitch and ridge design, with the ceiling heights remaining at 8 feet. This board finds the application meets the 5-part test set forth in Town Code and New York State Town Law. Therefore, the board grants relief from Town Code Section 330-84D pyramid height for a total pyramid encroachment in the amount of 2,362 cubic feet, 676 cubic feet on the south side of the dwelling, 1,686 on the north side of the dwelling, to construct a second story onto an existing dwelling as shown on the survey prepared by Keith Conceptions, PLLC, dated May 12, 2023, and incorporated herein. Grant of the foregoing relief is subject to the conditions of such other permits as applicant has heretofore acquired or may otherwise be necessary for final approval. I'm sorry, and I left out the survey prepared. I'm sorry, I just want to amend that. I want to say that, as shown on the survey prepared by Keith Wolchuk, Land Surveying PLLC, revised June 1st, 2023, as well as the plans.
Second.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Are you folks waiting on a particular decision?
No, it's just.
Oh, okay, just observing? Okay, no problem, just Figured we'd ask.
I'm just observing, and I'm reading now, my daughter was here before, we couldn't attend, but she made a comment that I just wanted you all to hear, that she thinks every senior in the high school should come and attend one of these classes before we go into the open world.
Thank you so much.
You must find this so
Bring it-
entertaining.
Bring him down.
Wow, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right, I have several,
idea.
decisions. First decision is on the minor variance of Robert Picerni and Nancy Picerni, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Suffolk, the last name, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 966-1-20.16. This minor application is for property located at 14 New Ground Lane Watermill. Applicants request a variance for a proposed addition to an existing dwelling. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code 33011, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations, for a principal rear yard setback of 97 feet where 100 feet is required for a proposed addition to an existing dwelling, as shown on the survey prepared by John F. Barilski, surveyor, last updated March 9, 2023, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by Anthony J. Musso, RA, last dated May 16, 2023. Granted, the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tuttle.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next decision I have is on the application of Susan Eminoff for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 985-219. This application is for property located at 55 Hildreth Lane, Bridgehampton. Applicant seeks variances for a proposed one-story addition to an existing dwelling. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed one-story addition on a non-conforming lot. 1. Town Code 33011, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations, for a minimum side yard setback of 14.6 feet where 20 feet is required. And 2. 33084D, Pyramid Law, for a total pyramid encroachment to the amount of 8.68 cubic feet on the east side, as shown in the survey prepared by John Barilski, surveyor, last revised June 14, 2022, and the plans, elevations, and pyramid drawings prepared by Pamela Popsillo, RA, last revised November 9, 2022. Granted, the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the 1, removal or relocation of the AC and pool equipment to a conforming location, and 2, installation and maintenance by the applicant and all successors in interest of additional screening on the east side, the east property line by the proposed addition, both prior to the issuance of any certificate for the addition.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I next have a decision on the matter of the application of Bridgehampton Fields LLC for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 936-216.6. Sorry. Don't want my voice to break.
How dare
This
you.
application is for property located at 2 Windy Hill Lane, Bridgehampton. Applicant appeals the building department's interpretation as it relates to yards, and in the alternative requests variances for a proposed tennis court. After the reviewing the town code, facts, evidence, and testimony before it, this board finds that the building department incorrectly identified the yards on the premises, and as such, no variances are required for the proposed 55 by 110 sunken tennis court as shown on the site plan prepared by Vincent Gordiello, P.E. of the Rayner Group, last dated January 12, 2023, since this tennis court is proposed in the rear yard of the principal building where accessory building and structure setbacks apply.
Second.
That's the end of it.
Okay, Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I next have a determination in the matter of the application of 1127 Noyak Path LLC for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 936-216.7. This application is a property located at 4 Windy Hill Lane, Bridgehampton. Applicant appeals the building department's interpretation as it relates to yards, and in the alternative requests variances for a proposed tennis court. After reviewing the town code, facts, evidence, and testimony before it, this board finds that the building department incorrectly identified the yards on the premises, and as such, no variances are required for the proposed 55 by 110 sunken tennis court as shown on the site plan prepared by Vincent Gaudiello, P.E. of the Rayner Group, last dated May 18, 2023, and as landscaped in the landscape plan prepared by C.U. Lee, architect, dated June 16, 2023, since the tennis court is proposed in the rear yard of the principal building where accessory building and structure setbacks apply.
Second.
Ms. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Daly?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
I,
Mr. Macedonio?
Aye.
Mr. Tuthill?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The next decision I have is in the matter of the application of Jason D. Simmons for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-264-225.1. This application is for property located at 4 Katina Road, Hampton Bays. Applicant requests setback variances for proposed additions to an existing dwelling. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code 33011 residence districts table of dimensional regulations for the following. 1, for a minimum side yard setback of 19.4 feet where 20 feet is required for a proposed 2-story addition, and 2, for a front yard setback of 32 feet where 40 feet is required for a proposed 1-story addition, as shown on the survey prepared by John Barilski, surveyor, last revised June 15, 2023, and the site plan and pyramid diagram last dated June 14, 2023, and the floor plans dated November 30th, 2022, both prepared by Joseph Pagic, R.A. Granted, the foregoing is subject to such of the conditions and permits the applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the legalization of all buildings, structures, and fences exceeding 4 feet in height.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Daly?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
I,
Mr. Tudhill?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio?
Aye.
Ms. Kern?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I next have a decision in the matter of the application of 74 Shinnecock Hills Road LLC for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-177-361. This application is for property located at 74 Shinnecock Road, Shinnecock Hills. Applicant requests variances for a proposed tennis court. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed 55 by 110 tennis court. 1, 33011, residence districts table of dimensional regulations for an accessory distance from street, front yard, setback of 60 feet where 90 feet is required. 2, 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and 330-83C yards to allow the proposed tennis court to be located within the required front yard for the principal building, as shown in the survey prepared by Robert A. Smith of Squires, Holden, Weisenbacher, and Smith, last revised December 15, 2022. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already required or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the installation and maintenance of screening in the front yard and wrapping around the tennis court by the applicant and all successors in interest to the premises.
Second.
Ms. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Daly?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
I,
Mr. Macedonio?
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next, I have a determination in the matter of the application of 394 Seven Ponds LLC for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-100-319.15. This application is for property located at 394 Seven Ponds Road, Watermill. Applicant requests a variance for a required rear yard lot coverage of 23%. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code 330-77D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all residence districts, to allow a required rear yard coverage of 23% where a maximum of 20% is permitted for a proposed tennis court, as shown in the survey prepared by Gary Benz, surveyor, last dated January 23rd, 2023. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant is already required or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Ms. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Daly?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio?
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
I,
Chair votes aye. I next have a determination in the matter of the application of Vincent and Candy Smith for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-530.1. This application is for property located at 74 Pine Neck Avenue, Noyak. Applicants request relief to legalize the addition and conversion of a detached garage and other as-built buildings/structures While this board does not condone construction done without the benefit of a building permit, this application does pass the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief on the following provisions of the Town Code. 1, to legalize the addition and conversion of a detached garage to finished storage/workshop on a non-conforming lot. 1, 330-84, height pyramid, for a proposed total pyramid encroachment of 578 cubic feet where 368 cubic feet was pre-existing. 2, 330-115, continuance, for an accessory side yard setback of 0 feet where 0.2 feet was pre-existing. And 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and 330-83C yards, to allow a storage building to be located within the minimum required side yard for a principal building. 2, to legalize an above-ground pool located within the required front yard setback. 330-11, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for 1, an accessory front yard setback of 31.3 feet from Noyak Avenue where 40 feet is required. 2, an accessory front yard setback of 38.9 feet from Pine Neck Road where 40 feet is required. And 3, an accessory side yard setback of 7.4 feet where 8 feet is required. 3, to legalize a deck around the above-ground pool. 1, 330-83A4, to allow a deck higher than 1 foot above ground level to be located in the required front yard. 2, 330-84, for a pyramid encroachment in the amount of 2.94 cubic feet. And 3, 330-11, for an accessory side yard setback of 6.6 feet where 8 feet is required. 4, to legalize a sunroom. 330-84, for a pyramid encroachment to the amount of 85.33 cubic feet. And 5, 330-103, corner clearance, to allow a fence in excess of the permitted height of 2 feet to be located within the corner clearance areas. These variances are granted as shown on the survey prepared by Jeffrey Hatterer, surveyor of Twin Forks Land Surveying, last revised June 6, 2023, and the plans and elevations prepared by architect Paul Clinton, digitally signed July 27, 2022. It is conditioned upon the garage remaining for storage purposes only and not for habitable space/living space, and is subject to such other permits as the applicant is heretofore required or may otherwise be necessary.
Second.
Mr. Macedonia. Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I have 3 more left. Next, I have a decision on the matter of the application of Robert and Gretchen Savage for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-176-110. This application is for property located at 36 Boathouse Road, Hampton Bays. Applicants request variances for a proposed addition to a pre-existing dwelling and for parking in the required front yard. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief on the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed addition to a pre-existing dwelling. 1, Town Code 330-115C, continuance, for a principal front yard setback of 24.7 feet where 27.6 feet is existing. 2, Town Code 330-11, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations, for a total lot coverage of 24% where a maximum of 20% is permitted. And 3, 330-84D, pyramid height, for a total pyramid encroachment of 2,990 cubic feet, proposed east side 102 cubic feet, and west side 11 cubic feet, and north side 12 cubic feet, and south side 1,851 cubic feet, and an existing 1,014 cubic feet on the south side. Additionally, this board grants relief from Town Code 330-94, schedule of off-street parking space requirements for residential uses, to allow 2 additional parking spaces to be located in the required front yard. These variances are granted as shown on the survey prepared by Pat Secfico, surveyor, last dated May 5th, 2023, and the building plans, elevations, and pyramid drawings prepared by Michelle Wagner-Nevia, R.A., last dated April 7th, 2022. Granted, the foregoing is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant is already required or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the removal of any portions of the driveway from the town's right-of-way prior to the issuance of any certificates for the addition.
Second.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next, a decision on the matter of the application of Dennis P. Schmidt for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-429. This application is for property located at 51 Beach Plum Road, Noyak. Applicant requests variances for a proposed 3-story dwelling on a non-conforming lot burdened by wetlands. This application is consistent with variances granted by this board in 2006 and passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed three-story, one-family dwelling. 1, relief from the C-zone regulations. A principal rear yard setback of 20 feet or 50 feet is required. 2, Town Code 33011, Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations, to allow the proposed dwelling to be 3 stories where a maximum of 2 stories is permitted. And 3, Town Code 33084D, Pyramid Law, for a proposed encroachment in the amount of 1,869.50 cubic feet. All is shown, as shown, on the survey prepared by Jeffrey W. Hatterer, last dated April 11, 2023, and the floor plans and elevation/pyramid diagram prepared by architect Melvin Gonzalez, architect PLL, MIG Architect PLLC, last dated October 14, 2022. The grant of the foregoing relief is conditioned upon there being no habitable space on the first story and is subject to the conditions of such other permits as applicant as heretofore required or may otherwise be necessary.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Tuttle.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
No,
Chair votes aye. Last decision I have is on the application of Barbara Rosenthal for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-147-116.1. This application is for property located at 15 Next Place, Flanders. The applicant seeks variances in connection with the expansion of a nonconforming use, as well as variances to reconstruct the one-story dwelling and add a small addition and deck on pilings on a lot burdened by wetlands and located in a flood zone. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code to reconstruct the existing dwelling on the west side of the property on a lot that benefits from 2 one-family dwellings. Town Code 33116, extension as it relates to Town Code 33167B1A, specific types of variances for an 8% expansion, and Town Code 33084D, pyramid height, for a proposed encroachment in the amount of 445 cubic feet that will result in the proposed reconstruction and expansion of the existing house to comply with the town flood prevention requirements and New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code flood-resistant construction requirements. This board also grants relief from Town Code 33084A4 yards to allow a proposed deck on pilings on the west side of the dwelling that will be higher than 1 foot above ground level to be located in the required front yard along Nets Place. The granting of this relief is as shown on the survey prepared by Nathan Taft Corwin III, last revised April 19, 2023, and the plans prepared by architect Sean F. Leonard, dated June 30th, 2023, and is subject to the conditions of such other permits as the applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tuttle.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to close?
Motion.
Before we close.
Can you just do the German date on lease on it? I didn't write down the time, but I don't know if I missed it, so just in case.
The what?
Just,
The adjournment date is 7:20.
yeah, just call it and then just do the German date again, just so I can have it on record.
Okay.
Okay.
Which,
Just wanna
which,
let-
which
just-
Lee
application?
Skolnick.
It's this Lee Skolnick.
Okay, so make a motion to reopen.
No,
Motion to reopen.
To
No, just a
adjourn the
motion to adjourn
decision.
7:20.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
motion to adjourn Lee Skolnick to 7:20.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, motion to close.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
third, fourth.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are
Thank you very
closed.
much.